Welcome to the Video Game Book Club. I don't have an opening still.
Where we just introduce ourselves.
Read books and novelizations
based on video games.
It's pretty straightforward. It's in the title. It's there. I'm Savvy.
I'm Elise.
And we read the re-release, not canon prequel novel to Dead Space.
Which is Dead Space Martyr, and that is written by B.K. Evenson. So it's re-released. It just came out.
Yeah, because it used to be like a bunch of money to buy it because it was out of print. Because it came out in 2010. I don't know when the first Dead Space came out. I don't know if it came out like before the first Dead Space or after, but it doesn't really matter because this lore is not fully accurate, I would say. What was surprising was actually how accurate it was. I feel like they kept a lot of elements from this. Because this is about Altman and the Unitologists and how they got started and the marker stuff. And I think there's like one element of it that they don't use anymore.
So Dead Space originally came out in 2008. So
okay, so this is later.
2 years after the game came out, the book came out. And he has 2 books. This is the first of the 2.
What's funny is the next one, Catalyst, I think, is...
Martyr.
Because they basically were like, we're not using the lore from Martyr. And he's like, okay, fine. So when he wrote Catalyst, he used the lore of Dead Space 2 and 3. And he just ignored this book.
Well, this is also... I wonder if Catalyst is in space. Because this book is not in space at all. This is a prequel. I guess we'll find out because
I don't know. Read it. I'm sure. Because we actually really like this book.
Yeah, at first I heard this book was awful, and then it turned out to be not so awful, but maybe that's just us going with the...
Maybe we're just hipsters.
Yeah.
You never know. People say it's awful, and we're like, actually, it's not that bad. And people are like, this book slaps, and we're like, actually, you're wrong.
It's the expectation.
It sucks. Like, don't tell me anything about anything, because it will color my opinion on things. I got that hipster mentality. If you say this rocks, I'm going to say it sucks. And if you say that it...
with your fedora.
And if it's, the same diff. If you say that it sucks, I'm going to say it's the coolest thing ever. And you're wrong. Because I'm an asshole.
But we'll let you judge for yourself as we go into it.
I gave it 5 stars.
You gave it 5 stars. I gave it 4. I had issues with the fact that there is one female character. Well, technically there's 2 because there's the witch, but she is gone in like the first chapter. But
what about all the ghosts? There's female characters. There's female ghosts.
They're hallucinations.
They count.
There's one.
Don't discount.
Main female character. There could have been a whole bunch.
I wouldn't even say main.
Yeah, she was the supportive.
Too supportive actress.
This does not this does not pass the Bechdel test like at all. But.
Because there's only one lady.
Because she doesn't have a conversation with any woman. Because she can't. Because there's only one.
Well, we didn't hear her conversations with the woman that she wanted to talk to. Because she was talking to ghosts.
Oh, her dead mom. But we'll get into that later. But, a lot of really morally gray characters. Chava for the win. Although he needs to be in this book a little bit more.
I was a little bit confused as to what happened with that kid. Mm-hmm. So we'll get into that too. Yeah, according to the wiki, this one was known for featuring lore elements that were abandoned and but like, it's very, I think that...
It's definitely...
After playing Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 3, which is the ones that they abandoned the lore for, I was like, no, this seems pretty accurate to how... Because they don't really talk about Altman at all. Mm-hmm. So they don't like change his lore or anything. You can
Altman's
still...
the main character of the
You
story.
can still like take what this book says minus benevolent ghosts. That's what it is. The ghosts are no longer benevolent. But I wouldn't say they were benevolent in this book either. So...
I'm confused about the ghosts. Savvy gave me some background lore into why they appear. They call them hallucinations, but they're all dead people, and they all have similar messages, which no one listens to. So,
because they had from what I was told, they have
It's really
two
confusing.
writers. They have a horror writer and a sci-fi writer, and they were fighting for how they wanted Dead Space lore to go. And the horror writer won, and that's how we got Moons. So the ghost, they couldn't figure out what to do with the ghost specifically. I'm gonna spoil Dead Space. I'm sorry.
Well, that's kind of why you're here, though. So
There's no, like, come on. For reals? You're gonna listen to this and then go play Dead Space 1? You're like, I need the prequel first, actually.
well, also there's the re-release of Dead Space, or different. There's like different. Well, he talks first of all.
But does he talk a lot?
He talks at the beginning. He makes some comments about his girlfriend, and he talks at the end. But
You think his talking adds any fun lore elements? Or?
no. The writers of Dead Space, at least the 2008 video game, was Warren Ellis, Rick Remender, and Anthony Johnston.
So they didn't know what to do when they got to Dead Space 2 with Nicole.
Dead Space has been banned in Germany, Japan, and China.
It is pretty nasty, and you do kill children, so makes sense.
Oh, and then Dead Space 2 doesn't have a different writer. Jeremy Bernstein.
So, yeah, they didn't know what to do with the ghosts. In this...
And Dead Space 3 has a totally different writer.
Yeah, it does.
Chuck Beaver.
What was I going to say? Talking about the ghosts.
Benevolency, but not really.
Because originally, they were going to have two different alien species. So the markers, which we will talk about in the book.
Which is also in the background on the cover. Which
Mhm.
the cover of this book is by Christopher Shy.
The markers are like another alien species. And there's one that was going to be fighting against them. And that is what would cause you to hallucinate ghosts. And the ghosts are like, don't deal with the markers. They'll make you gross. Stop. Don't touch it. Leave them alone.
Is this like goes into like the lore of what like people who believe in alien species, like IRL, like the Greys versus
The Greys versus the what? What did people believe other than the Greys?
Well, there's like another species that the Greys. I don't really dive too much into the world of alien species in real life, but they're sometimes known as Zeta Reticulans. Greys, or simply Greys, are the most commonly reported being to be interacted with and witnessed.
There's a scripted, I would vaguely call it a cryptid. It's like this angelic blonde man from space that comes and visits you if you're a middle-aged woman in your dreams. And there's like a whole religion around it. I forget his name. It's like a pretty normal name, but
Gary. Nick.
Every time I
Justin.
look it up, it's always like, have you seen this man in your dreams? And it's the guy with the like really intense eyebrows, which is not what I want. I'm a blonde man.
Visiting middle-aged. Why is a middle-aged woman?
Because they're the thirstiest.
So there's other extraterrestrial species, including the Nordic aliens, the Benians, and the Arcturians was the other species.
Arcturians. That's fun.
But that has nothing to do with this book whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, are the people who believe in the gray aliens, like, fighting with the other ones?
There's, like, different alien species, and they're, like, at war with each other.
Says who?
Alien lore? I don't know.
Alien lore? Someone get, was it what's
The X-Files.
Guys? So, okay, what was I talking about?
You were talking about the two species.
Yeah.
The one creates
Originally,
the hallucinations of your
there
dead
was two
relatives.
species fighting, and we were caught in the middle of it. So that was the original plan. Now it has changed. The actual lore is different. There is not anything else fighting the markers but us. Not really, because we have become one.
So there is, in the game, there's a religion called the Unitologists. And that
very
starts in this book. Like they start the
it's not
religion
even
in this
trying
book.
to hide the fact that it's Scientology at all.
No.
It's very blatant that it's the classic ripoff. It's easy to rip into Scientology.
Yes.
Like everyone
Well,
hates it. It's so easy.
Hubbard was a failed sci-fi writer before he started
That's
his
so
religion.
funny. I love that.
So.
Anyway, we didn't read the back of the book yet.
It's really short. So
it's like 10 minutes in.
The cover has a possibly nude man that has he's like how would you say he's sitting?
Oh god, man, he's doing like the weird.
He's
you
like
put your knees out.
Yeah, his like toes are tucked down.
I used to do this as like a preschooler all the time.
It's not crisscross.
But I have to tell you, The markings,
So he's got markings all over his body, and behind him,
the
you
ones
can see
on his
there's
body
markings all over it.
are wrong because I spent the entire
Super
time
nerd savvy.
translating the marker text in Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 3. And so I was like, can we translate what's on the book? And I did. I can only translate one word, and it's fuck. The marker says fuck. I want you all to know
Sounds
that.
appropriate.
I think, but it's blocked, so it might say fuck you, and I can't read because the R is blocking it. But just know, the marker says fuck.
So it's a blue
his symbols
cover.
are wrong.
He's in the middle. Yeah, he's sitting. It's like the crouch sit almost, but like
I don't know what
really.
you would call that. Like fanning out, the butterfly sit.
I'm sure there's an actual name for that. But then you can see the marker behind him as well, and it's the sign of the devil's tail.
Yeah, the devil's
Just
tail.
like cross your fingers, and that's what it looks
The
like.
unitologists do this fun thing where they go like this when they talk about it. You can't see me,
Oh.
but it's like the two hands.
And
I
there's
mean, you
like
think
a
it would
thing in
be
the middle.
think it would be the two fingers,
Yeah,
like cross your fingers, but they do like a full hand
Why
and a
did-
full hand, and
There's
then
a
they
space
touch.
in the middle of
They
that.
touch
though,
little
too.
tips,
Tips of your fingers,
and that's
opposite
cute. That's cute. I
the
like
back
that.
of your hands. Your fingertips touch after you cross your arms.
Yeah,
But that leaves a space
for
in
our
between.
audio listeners, which is all of you.
And then on the back, on the top, it says "Praise Altman." And this is from Titan Books, and it's also got Electronic Arts and Visceral Games, so it isn't actual,
Visceral Games doesn't even exist anymore.
like, not just a fan fiction.
It's all fan fiction, baby.
So the back says, "We have seen the future, a universe cursed with life after death. It all started deep beneath the Yucatan Peninsula, where the archaeological discovery took us into a new age, bringing us face to face with our origins and destiny. Michael Altman had a theory that no one would hear. It cursed our world for centuries to come. This, at least, is his story." So that doesn't tell you anything. It has
doesn't
setting
tell you
and
anything.
main character, and
It's about Altman and the unitologists.
yeah. So this is in the
200 years before the events of Dead Space.
Oh, okay. Well, good to know.
Fun
200
fact.
years.
200 years.
But we didn't even have space travel.
Oh,
200 years. We're
I'm
in
pretty
space.
sure it was 200 years. I might be wrong, but I thought it was 200. Yeah,
Wow,
no,
that would make sense.
it's 200 because of the Okay.
Wow, the advancements and then probably the destruction of our world, right? Because they can't go back. Can you
Yeah,
go
they
back
were.
to-
Can they go back? What?
I'm trying to remember what they talked about Earth.
They can go back to Earth. Earth's
Yeah.
still around. Earth's around at 3 at least, but not for long.
So it is the Chicxulub crater, which is in the Yucatan Peninsula, is where the cataclysmic event that killed the dinosaurs.
So the dinosaurs turned into necromorphs and then created a convergence, and that's true. That's what took them out.
Yes. Rewritten history.
Yeah, we wrote history. So there is a guy that reads the audiobook.
Oh, there is no
online.
audio besides a man who reads it.
Mm-hmm.
Dead Space. We may possibly be the second person.
Yeah, because there is no audiobook, so we figured we'd
We
do
might
a
bring you the
service.
first part.
Bring
We'll
you
see.
part 1. See if you like it, and then you can decide if you want it on your own. This is also the first one that I stopped listening to the audiobook and started reading the ebook that I bought. On
He
my
has the
Fubo.
guy that has a he reads slowly and he has like a thick accent,
I couldn't tell if what he was saying was right because I think he said Chicxulub.
which is Chicxulub, like lobe.
So like it's close
Which sounds
enough.
like lube.
Close enough, you
Yeah.
know. Potato,
Put
potato.
an accent on it, Chicxulub.
I was into this book, so I wanted to read faster than him. So I went and I got the ebook and I read it really, really fast.
Yes, you did.
And I took really, really intense notes.
I have the physical copy of the book. It is 400 and the page numbers are so hard to read. 428 pages. Also, our comment on, because I had to send in the chapters to Fable. There are 65 chapters plus a 3-part epilogue.
Yeah, but the chapters are really short, except for 2 chapters, which are crazy long for some reason. And it's very strange how many chapters there are.
And there's different parts.
Yeah.
So the parts have titles, and then the chapter, there's 65 plus the 3-part epilogue.
It's a long book.
I don't know why it's 3-part epilogue. They could have just been one.
My
epilogue.
ebook said it was 610 pages because it's an ebook, so it's
they added.
smaller. Definitely could be shorter.
It could have been shorter. Less trips in the
Bathysphere.
Yeah. which reminded me of Bioshock. But... All right, are we ready?
Yeah, so we're going to spoil this. We're going to teach you, learn you. You're going to learn so much about Altman and unitology right now. Mm-hmm. And it's only, I would say, 80% true.
Before we even get into chapter 1, part 1, there is a page and a half about a man who is being attacked by a creature.
It's that little, like, get you excited to read.
So a creature that's twice, it's all in, like, italics, too, which I was like, who? It's a really weird introduction because it's like, who's this man? What is happening? Where are we?
I didn't write it down, so...
a creature twice the size of a man with spiky chitinous arms, which is...
Chitinous.
Yes.
Ooh.
That was the description of the book. He charged... I was like, who's he? He dives, he cuts... the creature, but then the creature bit his head and tore him in half, and then he died.
Maybe it's the sailor on the beach. That's my guess.
Oh,
we'll find out later.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, I don't know where we are. I don't know who this person is. So every time someone gets attacked by a creature, I was like, is this the beginning of the book? Is this?
It never shows up again. So, okay, part 1.
Part 1. Puerto, Chicxulub. Chapter 1.
Chapter 1. Chava woke up early. He dreamed something was chasing him, both alive and dead at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot of dreams.
A lot of dreams.
And a lot of them have similar dreams, and everyone's going to have a headache.
Everyone's going to have a headache constantly in bad dreams. That's how you know.
Yeah, Chava's just a kid. His dad is interesting because he's like, I know not to ask where he goes.
We find out he's an eco-terrorist.
Yeah, he's a guerrilla.
Yeah. So yeah, Chava is on the coast. We find out that the crops and the fish aren't doing so hot in the village. You either have to eat the food that slowly kills you or go broke buying safe food from the megacorps.
Yep.
So.
Hence the eco-terrorism.
And here comes something on the beach. It looks like a corpse.
Yeah, he's like, I could go right or left, but it's like something's pulling him, and then, yeah, he sees something.
He hears whispering in his head. Not a great sign.
Don't listen to the voices.
But the voices are like, over there. And it's like, he's like, ew, it's a corpse. But it's still moving.
In the surf.
Ew. Now chapter 2, we talk about Altman.
There are so many characters in this book.
Get ready.
And
keep a list.
It was difficult to... Even Altman's like, I don't remember who you are. I think this is your name.
I know.
And
relatable.
They're really... There's later on when they're in a compound, there's like hundreds of people on this compound, which I don't understand how that works at all. And there really did not need to be that many people. But Michael Altman, who is our protagonist, is tall in his 40s.
You know what's crazy is all the pictures of Altman in the game. He's like super old. Do you know how long this like goes off? This like takes place?
It doesn't seem that long.
Doesn't seem
it takes
that
them,
long.
I have when they...
So is he already gray and balding in his 40s?
He's like Pepper.
Because the pictures of him in the game, he's like...
I would say this takes probably like a month.
He's got the Picard thing going on where he's like, I have a little bit here, but it's white, but I'm basically bald. And I was like, he looks way older than 40. They might have kept him at the end for a very, very long time.
Oh, the several days after. Well, yeah, because we don't know.
We don't know.
Time. So, they'll say like 3 days later
or they could have changed his image too, so... yeah, so he's having bad dreams. He's a geophysicist. He's also in Chicxulub.
And, well, he's in Chicxulub because his girlfriend, Ada, who is an archaeologist who studies, like, folklore, she was like, I'm working here. So he's like, me too.
Good boyfriend.
He's the worst boyfriend.
Why is he the worst boyfriend? There's nothing wrong with him.
I don't like.
Why is he the worst boyfriend? What did he do? It's 100% like her fault.
I didn't like her, and that's, again, she's the only like...
Because he doesn't listen to her?
Because she's like, this is dangerous. Like, I need you to promise me that you'll be safe. And he's like, no.
And they're just gonna break up.
They should break up. They should 100% have broken up a long time ago. Yeah, their relationship I did not like.
He has a partner named James Field.
James Field is very much like, it's
5 o'clock, I'm leaving.
I'm already logged out.
He's not curious. Altman's very curious. Altman will do anything he should have been a journalist, for the scoop.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to know what's up.
He's in
He
everyone's
loves
business.
science. He wants to know what's going on.
They're studying gravitational patterns in the crater, and there is now a signal that is being released from the crater.
Yeah, James Field brings it up. He's like, yo, Altman, check this shit out. And
there's
it's
a bunch
like
of weird readings, and he's like,
a gravitational
so
anomaly.
are we going to like work through the night? And Field's like,
No,
we don't get paid for overtime.
I just wanted to show you that weird thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that strange? And he's like, what? So he's going to definitely stay overnight.
We do know that Altman has been there a year, but yet they still call him, oh, you're the new guy. I was like, no.
You wanted to hear something really offensive? Altman's girlfriend, because they do talk about her in chapter 2, and I didn't know if she was going to be important.
Yeah,
so I crossed it out because
we don't know if any character is important. Like,
because
you don't hear about Chava. Like, he comes in randomly, and I was like, I was always excited to see him, but no. And then Field is mentioned a lot at the beginning and then just disappears, and all of a sudden, bam, he's there again.
Field, Ada and Chava, I was like, okay, I'm going to put Chava down, but the other two, I'm like, I'm not 100% sure they're going to be brought up again.
And then Altman will start his own Scooby Gang.
I definitely thought they were going to freezer Ada, which they kind of did, but not really.
So he's got like a group of scientists, and they spend a lot of time talking about their names and their backgrounds, and then
they're not important.
Some of them just disappear, and then they pop up later, and I was like... So this will be confusing. Hopefully,
Chava's important. Field's important.
Mm-hmm.
Altman's important. Ada's important.
Yes. Showwater will be important. Scud, not really.
You'll see.
Yeah,
I'll let you know if they're important. So that's pretty much it for chapter 2 because it's just about introducing Altman.
Mm-hmm. We're still in the
because this is switching between Altman and Chava now in part 1. So Chava
is back in chapter 3.
He's still talking about the thing on the beach, and he's like, I saw this creature in my dreams.
It's a super gross thing, and it has pulsating sacs on its back.
Mm-hmm. It's a big, disgusting, bloaty corpse that's shooting stuff out of its sacs. So Chava runs away.
Mm-hmm.
And then chapter 4,
Field. Run, boy, run.
Field calls other offices and asks if they were seeing the shit in the crater too, and they were like, yeah. Altman's like, why is this happening? It feels like, I don't know. I'll file a report, though. That's the only thing I have jurisdiction to do anyway, so.
Yeah, Field wants to file a report and go home. I was like, and that's why he has seniority.
He's like, what's wrong with you? Aren't you curious? And Field's like, I am curious, but I'm also following protocol, so.
We also will have several random phone calls where the person does not identify themselves, and it's hard to distinguish who.
I'm pretty sure we can figure out who those people are, though, especially now.
Well, so Altman gets a phone call to be like, Altman, you're asking questions. Meet me at a bar at 8.
Yeah. It says Altman's going to find out what happens even if it kills him. So that is his mentality throughout the whole thing. He's going to ignore everyone else. He's like, I have to know what's happening. I'm so bored here. I have to know. Yeah, he gets a call. Meet me at a bar at 8. But then we go back to Chava.
He is like, hey, town people, look at this thing on the beach.
It's farting out gas. Isn't that crazy? And his mom's like, go get the bruja.
But so they call it, is tab?
I don't write it down.
Ixtab, and that ends up being the like Mayan goddess of suicides.
Yeah, they said it in the book.
See, I didn't see it.
Tells him Chava about the goddess of suicide dreams and some devil bullshit. Because if you don't understand it, then it must be the devil.
No, but so he runs into the bruja, and I was like, yes, which time?
Which time?
And because she's already there, and she's like, I expected you sooner.
Then we go back to Altman. He went home and not the bar.
Yeah.
Which was weird.
Well, it's not time yet.
He's got to go home. He's got to say, he's got to go kissy his girlfriend. Yeah. He's like, how was your day? And she's like, weird.
This I did not understand because, again, she's an archaeologist. She's an archaeologist studying folktales. And she's like, the folktales are changing. I was like, explain.
People are making weird hand signs.
She
like
does
the
not
ones
explain
I just talked about.
How. No, it was the.
I know it was this.
Yeah, it's the cross the fingers.
I like this one better.
And so she's like, they call it the tail of the devil. Do you know what that word is in Yucatan and Mayan?
What?
It's Chicxulub.
Oh my god. So that means this thing's been here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Altman's like, okay, cool, gotta go to the bar now. Bye.
In chapter 7, we're back with Chava and the Bruja. She dances around the creature, and she's like, everyone dance! And so Chava's like, everyone, we gotta dance.
The Bruja took some driftwood and like
this was
threw
like one
it
of my favorite chapters.
at the creature.
She throws her stick at it.
There's a drunk. It was funny about this drunk is like, because there is the town drunk,
Mm-hmm.
and he's important. Remember the town drunk.
Although he doesn't have a name.
He will be brought up.
Yeah.
But he just wandered because the thing shoots out gas, and he wandered into the gas and then passes out, and people have to drag him back.
So,
and I was like, okay.
So again,
I thought he was gonna turn or die.
I love Chava. He's my favorite character. The Bruja is like, go get the drunk's bottle. I'm going to need that. So he's like, okay. And he gets the bottle from the passed out drunk, and then he gives it to her. And she throws it on the creature and then lights it on fire.
Yeah, everyone danced around, threw driftwood at it, and then lit it on
Throw
fire.
it with sticks, light it on fire.
The old chuck stuff at things.
Light it on
don't
fire.
understand it. Chapter 8, Altman at the bar. He ordered a boring beer.
He's like, I'm at a bar.
Boring.
I've got to fit in.
I gotta fit in. Give me a Miller.
This was a super long chapter.
A guy comes up to him. His name is Charles Hammond. I wrote it down.
Mm-hmm.
He works for Dredger Corp.
Mm-hmm.
Which, remember,
He's a
that.
freelance in communications.
This guy noticed weird stuff too, because it seems like something is broadcasting from the crater. Charles told Dredger Corp that they made him sign an NDA, but he was like, this is too weird to keep quiet.
Yeah, he's like, but you're the only one asking, so I figured, hey, why not?
Altman's
Let's
called
talk
a
to
lot
you.
of people about this, and this is the only guy that ever called him back, so... There's something at the bottom of the crater. Charles shows Altman an image, and it was the symbol his girlfriend was making with her hands.
Mm-hmm. The cross
Like, cross your fingers. And they're like, it could be alien? Maybe? It's an alien thing? That's all I have. Do you have anything else for chapter 8?
No, I just had Hammond's not supposed to talk about it, but Altman asked.
But he asked politely.
Yeah. Chapter 9, back to Chava.
Chava walks back.
This is like the last Chava chapter for a long time.
With the Bruja, but then she disappears, and he's like, what? And so he walks to her house.
And there's weird symbols. It's stinky because
she's dead.
She's been dead this whole time.
Oh my god.
She is going to be the first of many who has ended her life by
slitting their throat. And yeah, so keep a tally of that. Though, yeah, while we're covered in symbols, he turned and he ran away.
Yeah, so I put, like, did she kill herself for the ceremony? Because she's like, oh, I knew this was coming. The drunk with no name, we'll talk about it later, that this is something that has happened in the past.
Yeah, first instance of ghost.
Yeah.
That you're going to see. And the ghosts are supposed to be the other alien thing, but it could also be the marker telling you to kill yourself. I'm very unsure which alien is telling you to kill yourself.
Well, the ghost is for Chava, because Chava's met the witch before, but she's said that she's been waiting for the ceremony.
But also the mom said, go get the witch.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
So no one else can see the witch, right?
Yeah, so he just like danced around.
It's him. Chava did the ceremony.
Wow. Chapter 10, Charles Hammond POV.
So Altman has left. Hammond is waiting at the bar. And
He
his
thinks
head
the
starts to
company
hurt.
was recording his brainwaves since he has a headache. He's one of those. He's got a conspiracy theory brain, which is probably why he talked.
Mm-hmm.
The more people that know, the better. Charles and the village drunk were the last ones in the bar.
Yeah, he's starting to get paranoid.
Because someone's following him on his way home. So then he pulls out a knife. And then these Dredger Corp goons, literally goons, show up.
They all have team
and
names.
they're like, hey, we want to talk to you. I'm Tim, Terry, and Tommy. And this is some other guy. Charles runs away. They catch up with him. And he's like, I'm gonna stab you. And then he stabs one of them. And then he immediately kills himself in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the goons are like, what? I'm so confused. And then now they have headaches.
Now they have headaches. Headaches are contagious. This brings us to part 2 called Confined Spaces. And we get yet another person, chapter 11, William Tanner, who is the head of Dredger Corps at the Yucatan Peninsula.
Yeah, chapter 11, Dredger Corp goons here in Chicxulub are like, I can't believe that guy unalived himself. He's here talking to Tanner, and he's a military man. He was the head goon from the last chapter, and he's reporting what happened to the colonel.
Yeah. Who, do we get a name for that person?
No, he's just the colonel. Yeah. He's the colonel of the U.S. military.
And
all of it.
He tells him to use the F7 submersible to get to the...
They got to get
There's
to
something down there. So they were able to find... Did they get his hollow thing, right? So they could see the image?
Yeah. So they know that there's something down there, so they're like, we got to get down there first. And also they talk about Altman being a threat because he now knows stuff. Chapter 12, Tanner chooses people for the mission. He picked
Dantec sounds like such a sociopath, and I was so sure that he was gonna do something crazy, and I was so wrong.
So he chose Dantec. He's an ex-military guy. I put a bad guy and dumb.
Yeah, I was like, he's definitely a bad guy. And then Hennessy is
he's a marine geologist.
Marine geologist.
He's a company man, and he's bald. That's all I put down.
And the F7 is a bathoscope?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like Bioshock.
Which
is teeny tiny, and they are going to go to drill at night.
The crew has been getting headaches, too. Chapter 13 is we start with Hennessy having a nightmare, and he is shaken awake by a man with glasses with two bodyguards, Tim and Tom.
Tim and Tom. Who are brothers.
Yep, they're brothers. They take Hennessy to the sub. Dantec is already there, and they're going to speedboat down there.
And Hennessy, who was like, is this legal? Like, shouldn't the...
Like, why are we doing this at night? Are we trying to be sneaky?
Yeah, but they're also like, this is a different country. Like, do we have the right to take something from there? Does that belong to us, or does it belong to the country that we're in? Like, what's the legality here? And everyone just stares at him, and he's like, oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't know I'd be part of a really illegal operation.
Yeah.
That's not good.
He's like, doesn't it belong to Mexico? I was like, oh, Hennessy, things are going to go so bad.
They're going to go so bad for you. Tanner tells them that they're going to the bottom of the crater to find extraterrestrial life. Hennessy does not trust Tanner or Dredger Corp because he's like, oh, it's illegal.
And he shouldn't.
He shouldn't. Oh, poor Hennessy. Chapter 14. They dive! Just Dantec and Hennessy. Tanner's on comm somewhere else. Dantec is going a little crazy and chokes Hennessy a little for laughing.
Yeah, he gets the giggles, and like Dantec freaks the fuck out and is like, stop it! And he like almost chokes
giggling.
Him out.
They have headaches.
Mm-hmm.
They hear a noise. Well, Hennessy heard a noise. Dantec is being silent about it.
Yeah, Hennessy is starting to hear like voices, but he can't figure out.
2,000 meters in, he hears whispering. And they land. It's smooth and flat, so they start digging.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 15.
Dantec's like, I got this. Because like Hennessy, the reason why Hennessy there is because he's a geologist, so he's been trained to drill. And Dantec's like, I got this.
I want to drill. Let me drill aggressively.
So Hennessy like steps back and then looks out the porthole and is like, hey, that's my brother out there.
The oxygen regulator died and the lights go out. And Hennessy's talking to the voices in his head because he's like, shut up, I'm busy. But then he sees his half-brother, Shane, who has been dead for years. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey Shane, hey Hennessy, what's up?
Yeah, no one is ever surprised to see the dead people.
No, they're just excited.
They're just like, oh, you're here.
If they're cold, you're cold, they're cold. Let them in. Let your dead relatives in to your bathysphere.
And then Shane's on the inside, like holding his hand.
So Hennessy talks to Shane in like whispering because Dantec's freaking out because he's like, who are you talking to? Obviously.
And he's like, don't worry about him.
Yeah. Shane's like, let me in there. And Hennessy's like, come on in. It's cramped though. And so his brother just comes through the wall. Then power returns to the ship. Shane is sitting next to Hennessy and they're holding hands. Mm-hmm. Aw, cute. Chapter 16.
I have the watch stopped at 6:38.
Yeah, the chronometer reads 6:38. Dantec doesn't know.
You know, so they never call it a watch; they just call it a chronometer.
Yeah, science.
It's like felt odd. I was like, it's a chronometer's in several. I guess it's because it's not an actual wristwatch or clock. It's
I don't know.
but literally just means like measurement of time. But,
Hennessy decides to keep Shane a secret. They run into a swirling rock. Shane's like, "Oh, it's the black marker."
and it's made of obsidian, which I have questions on. How do you get a chunk
Of obsidian with a drill?
without breaking it?
I don't know. It's
super
alien
fragile.
obsidian.
Because they will drill into it and take a sample from it, but I was like, obsidian. The whole point, because it comes from like lava stuff, is
It's super fragile.
it's you break it and it makes it
Maybe
sharp.
they just guessed it was obsidian.
Could
I mean,
be
they don't actually
alien,
know.
actual alien rock and not shiny black.
Dantec is like, "Who put this here?" And Shane's like, "Better not to know." But Dantec can hear him, so pointless.
Yeah. Also, Dantec says it's wonderful, and Shane says he's one of them.
Tanner
Paranoia.
calls and he shows them the schematic of the marker before. I guess they had one. Shane told Hennessy, "You're in danger. Dantec wants to move in closer, but they can't get a hold of Tanner anymore." So they're like, "Why not?"
Mm-hmm.
Because they were going to ask Tanner, obviously, who's in charge of the operation, "What should we do?" And so they're like, "Just keep drilling.
Yeah,
Just keep drilling."
that's what we came down here for.
Dantec thinks it's cool. Shane's like, "Uh-oh." You got to get rid of
He's
Dantec.
one of them.
Chapter 17.
This is Dantec POV. He thinks that Hennessy is crazy.
He's feeling grumpy and thinking about the Moon Wars.
Which Tanner knew Dantec from before. I guess Tanner saved his.
Not really.
No, did Dantec save?
No, Tanner saved his life.
But like Dantec tells us as the reader that he was planning on killing him.
Dantec survived the Moon Wars by stealing the oxygen from his friends, his war buddies, and he would just take their oxygen and use it for himself, and he's not even ashamed of that a little bit. And so he was going to do that to Tanner, but then Tanner was like, "I found a way to fix this ship to get us back," so he didn't have to do that. So they're technically war buddies, but Dantec's like, "I was 100% going to kill that guy."
And so now he's like, I could kill Hennessy since I killed before. But this is such a confined space that maybe I shouldn't do it.
Because it can be stinky, is what he thinks. This is so stupid.
So
The Moon Wars is also very silly sounding.
Yeah.
We should have a Dead Space prequel called The Moon Wars.
Bring Tanner and Dantec. Dantec, the crazy person.
Yeah, let's not do that.
So they tried to take a sample.
And then, so he's cutting into the monolith, and then, a piercing noise was made, and their heads are in pain, and they're blind now, and Hennessy is screaming, and Dantec, backs away, and he's like, "I just want a little piece."
Mm-hmm.
His vision came back. Hennessy's passed out. Chapter 18 is now back to Hennessy POV. He feels like he's going to explode. His brother's neck tore open. Remember, Shane's a ghost. And then he actually exploded.
Oh, so this is the part where Hennessy sees Dantec and Shane combined.
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh, that's what I have here.
Not yet.
Okay.
So he just saw Shane explode. And then when Hennessy came to, because he passed out, remember?
Okay.
Shane was back. And then he looked fine. And then he starts to sit on Dantec.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "You shouldn't be doing this." "Doing what?" And Dan replies, "I'm getting..." Oh, yeah, because Hennessy's talking to Shane, but Dantec thinks he's talking to him, so he'll reply, and it's very silly to me, because he'll be like, Shane will be like, "You shouldn't be doing this," and Hennessy's like, "Doing what?" And Dantec's like, I'm getting a sample, dummy." And then Shane tells Hennessy not to listen and to destroy it and resist convergence, and Dantec is uncomfy, and then he stretches, and that tears Shane apart.
Yeah, because he's like, "Don't move, you're gonna hurt him,"
You're
and
ripping my
he
brother
turns around
apart.
to look at him,
He's
and
like,
then
what?
Hennessy loses his friggin' mind.
Chapter 19, Dantec POV. Hennessy is screaming, "Shane!"
Oh yeah, Dantec moves and Shane explodes.
The blood is all over everything. Can't you see that? And Dantec is slapping him and is like, "Chill out. What are you talking about?"
So this will be also. So when Shane warned him, he warns him about convergence, and this is the theme of every
ghost.
dead person. Yeah,
Every ghost will show up
hallucination who's
and
like,
is like, you
leave the
have
marker
to leave the marker
alone.
alone. Don't destroy it. Leave it alone. You don't want convergence.
Yeah. Stop convergence.
Yeah. Hennessy or Dantek's telling him to chill out. Hennessy's like, it's easy for you to say. It's not your brother who just exploded. And Dantek's like, it's just me and you in here. The hell? Hen's like, I saw him through inside of you, and then he exploded. And Hen tells Dan that they have to leave the marker alone and stop the core sampler. And Dantek's like, okay, I'll stop it. And then he did, which is like, honestly, surprised that Dantek is this chill about it.
Yeah.
I thought at this point,
The part
Dantek...
that Dantek a couple chapters ago was like, I'm definitely killing this man.
And then he's like, it's going to be too stinky. I can't do that, which is so silly. And then he's like, now he's kind of calmed down. And I think that that's a really different character. But
yeah, Dantek takes the sample and then Hennessy
beats him over the head with a metal pipe, breaking his jaw and his arm in one swing. Yep. And then Dantek slips on his own blood, and Hennessy just kills him, just finishes the job.
Dantek so that was super surprising to me because I was like, Dantek's definitely the bad guy.
Dantek's the crazier one, but
not when it comes to the marker.
So Dantek lies dying. He becomes surrounded by the men he killed in the Moon Wars, and they come up to him one by one and suck the air out of his mouth while Hennessy beats him to death. They give him a little kissy.
Little, what is the Harry Potter
I have no idea.
Floating the kiss of death thing?
Chapter 20, it's Hennessy POV again.
I was like, it's really bad when you're more upset that the imaginary brother was gone than the actual person you just killed.
He's like, wow, did I do that? That's crazy. Then Tanner calls, and Hennessy's like, we lost Shane. And Tanner's like, his reception's really bad, but he's like, what? Who's Shane? And then he's mostly static, and then Shane shows up and is like, good job, bro. You stopped them. But you're too close, and the Whispers are going to take you. You got to get free, stay clear, keep your mind, and tell others the same thing.
I wrote that exact same quote.
Wow. See, it's important. Tell others. Tell them.
The marker is the past. It must remain undisturbed.
So Shane touches Hennessy's forehead and then fades away. After telling him to tell my story. Chapter 21 is Hennessy feels lonely. He didn't heed the warning and he listens to the Whispers. Because he kind of forgot what his brother just said.
He also... So this is also... Chapter 21 is the cover art. But at least I thought it was. And I was looking at it more. I was like, the marker's in there. But I guess it could be underwater. And that's like the front of it.
I definitely think that's him. Because he's bald, remember?
But,
that was my one trait about him.
He says that Dantek had to be disciplined. It's the word he chooses.
Gross.
For that. I was like...
He's like, I gotta write down what he said in pen and paper, or what the thing is whispering to him.
Yeah.
So he wrote in Dantek's blood, he wrote symbols on the wall and the instrument panels on his body.
Yeah, because then he ran out of room when he got to the wall, so he's like...
He was stomping his body parts to get more blood out of him, and then eventually he ran out of the blood, and so he was like...
still all over the place.
Time to use my blood. And after all that, he turned on the vid screen, and he was like, I'm going to record a message. But he recorded what the marker told him to say, not his brother. Inside is two wolves, what Shane wants and what the marker wants him to say. So, marker wins. He says, don't destroy the marker. We must learn from the marker. Video off.
But he also broadcasted it, so anyone who picks it up can see it.
Then he laid down to take a nap. He realized while he was napping, he was like, oh, that was the marker's message, not my brother's. I'll fix it when I wake up. You know, it'll be fine. I'll do it in the morning. And then he died from lack of oxygen because the lights came on, but the oxygen didn't. Yeah.
Because I think that was the pipe, one of the pipes that
the pipes that he used to beat him with was the oxygen pipe.
Yeah.
So
he died. Part 3, the Noose Titans.
Chapter 22, Danner is talking to the Colonel. It's been about 48 hours since contact with that sub.
They saw part of the video, and Dantek was in the back, and they definitely saw because he put the pieces on the chair.
Just a pile of limbs.
Yeah.
And he was like, I know that that's Dantek because Dantek has hair. And there's a little bit of hair on that pile of limbs.
And he was like, is it sabotage?
Yeah.
It's like, what a weird conversation.
Colonel tells Tanner to call when he has more footage. So, chapter 23, we're back to Altman. It's been a while.
The signal has increased. And this is where we get the Scooby Gang.
Yeah, the 3 other Curious, they have a group chat. They have a little Discord.
So there's 4 of them. There's Showalter, Ramirez, who Ramirez is not important at all.
Nope.
And Scud.
Showalter's got the more powerful equipment. Ramirez noticed a freighter.
I also, maybe I should have, I was like, they described Scud as a laconic Swede.
He can't speak English very well, but he's probably the most useful, I would say.
But he also, Altman's always like, well, what do you think it means? And he's like,
I don't know.
I can't tell you that. This is what it actually says.
Yeah.
He's like, I need you to interpret the data. He's like, that's not what I do.
I just give you the data. That's my job. So Ramirez took a boat out because they saw a freighter over in the middle of the crater. And
the guy that took the boat, there was definitely
Captain Jesus.
More money.
To check it out. And so they drove the boat there, and then some beef boys, which are definitely Tim and Tom, came out and were like, leave. So they didn't notice the freighter they did notice that the freighter had launched a sub. They launched the bathysphere. So they're like, that's weird. Why are they doing that? Skid noticed seismographic disturbances was made by a machine, maybe a drill.
And he's right.
So Altman's like, I want more deets. So he called Scud, and Scud said it wasn't the center of the crater, but they drilled pretty close.
Like 50 feet.
Altman's going to find out what's down there, even if it kills him.
It's definitely going to kill him.
Which is what he says all the time. He's ready to die.
Yeah, he said, that is repeated. And I was like, yo, he's definitely the martyr.
Well, yeah.
I
mean, you kind of know if you play Dead Space, because they talk about,
Yeah, Altman.
It's Altman. He's our martyr. Chapter 24, back to Tanner. He's got a vid to show the Colonel now.
I said this chapter was unnecessary, except that the Colonel is okay with killing people.
They got kind of a jumpy message. They didn't get everything. They hear the word virgins, which is not what he said. Understand that and destroy it are the 3 phrases that they got. No way to tell who has seen it because it was broadcast. They were like, at least 4 technicians have seen this version of it.
He's like, well, there's too many of them to disappear them now, so I guess.
Because it was broadcast everywhere, they're like, killing the technicians won't do anything anymore, so. Tanner's like, am I expendable? And the Colonel's like, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Find out how many people have seen this and what they have seen. Chapter 25, Altman gets a call from a mysterious man and is like, yo, is this Altman?
So I was like, he gets a call at 1 a.m. and then at 3 a.m. he picks up because they keep calling back.
They're like, did you pick up anything unusual lately? And he's like what? The mysterious guy's like, oh, so you didn't? Sorry to bother you.
And he tries to make a deal and then he just hangs up.
Yeah, because he's like, wait, like a signal? And then the guy was like, maybe.
You tell me what you know and I'll tell you
what kind of transmission you talking about? Altman tries to make a deal and is like, if I see it, then I will let you know. And he's like, whatever. And hangs up on him.
So all the scientists got a phone call. And because he's talking to a Scooby Gang. And they're like...
He does not tell his girlfriend. His girlfriend's like, what's going on? And he's like, nothing. Don't worry about it.
Bennett, who is another random scientist, got a piece of the broadcast. And he gives it to Altman.
Dredger Corp is collecting all of the bits, is what Bennett says. And Altman's like, can I have it? And he's like, yeah, sure, everyone can have it. Who cares? They gotta find out if it's a hoax or not. Bennett thinks it's a hoax, so he's safe.
And so Altman decides that he is going to bait whoever is looking for this information. So he's going to leave this digital trail by, what is it, a website?
No, he emails it.
Okay.
I thought he put it on YouTube, 100%. No,
I thought he, set up a website because he had, he names a bunch of things on there. And I was like, it definitely sounds like he just put...
he did an email.
Or he was going to, send it to...
He emailed the vid to every scientist in Chicxulub and from a nearby hostel so nobody could track him. He told his girlfriend everything at this point, and she's worried that this is all connected to the nightmares and headaches that everyone's been having. She studies folks' lore, as we know, so the town drunk told her the tale of the forked object thrust in the middle of the ocean. This is where the devil's tail is, and if you touch it, the devil knows where you at.
But also, Altman's like, oh, I have all this information. He's not letting Ada in. And Ada's like, I have information too.
She does. But
Like-
it's the folklore information, right? It's like the townsfolk think that like the devil, when he was cast out of heaven, like his tail fell off when he went to hell, and that is what is underneath the crater.
But they've also had this lore for centuries.
Yeah.
And she's like, I have information.
But then she was like, they're changing the lore, but they're
Yeah.
not changing the lore because it's the same lore.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
I don't
'cause she
know
doesn't say how they changed it.
what's
so that's
going
the part
on with
that
Ada.
I did not.
She's like, it
understand
changed.
at all.
It didn't change. It's the same. They just are being cagey with her because they don't
Mhm.
want her to know. Because the only one that likes her is Java. Chapter 26.
Tanner tells the colonel that they've tracked down everyone with the recording.
They see Altman's email. In like all caps, he wrote like, Dredger Corp covering up conspiracy. Like he did the whole YouTube clickbait thumbnail thing, which is very funny. They have to come clean now about this video, and the colonel's like, just pretend, just like lie a little bit.
Because Tanner's like, well, what do you want me to say? And he was like, if I have to tell you, then you're not the right person for this job. And so
they gotta
it's
tell
like,
half truths at the
make
press
it.
conference. They're like, we were testing experimental bath escape, and Hennessy went crazy, and then they stole it. Which is not true. They're going to have the military help them get the sub. And he's like, they were getting the military involved. And the colonel's like, the military is already involved. Look who you're talking to. I am the colonel of the entire military of somewhere. I don't know where. Probably the U.S.
Well, it'd have to be. 'Cause
So, chapter 27. Altman and Fields got a knock at the door. And there's two men in suits. And it's the police.
And so Field's like, all right, they're here for you because they're not here for me. I swear Field better be worth something.
Fields
than being
knows
a
the
nail.
officer. He's like, what's up, Ramos? And he's like, I'm going to give you guys some privacy because I know you ain't here for me. And Ramos is like, do you know a guy named Charles Hammond? And he was like, yeah.
Yeah, I met him in a bar.
We learned the other cop is named Gallo? Gallio?
Their names are not important.
So Gallio tells Altman that he was the last to see Hammond alive. And so Altman's like, you accuse me? J'accuse me? I didn't do it. They want to know what Altman and Hammond have been talking about. And Altman just spills the beans.
Yeah.
Straight up. He's like, yeah, I'll tell you. Whatever. They're like, thanks, that's all we need. And then they leave. And then he calls Ada, but she doesn't pick up. Oh my God.
Oh no! But so he's waiting around and he's looking at the news and he sees Tanner's press conference.
Yeah, Fields comes back and is like, did you see the Dredger Corp announcement? Yeah. And they watch it, and Altman's like, I don't buy it. Altman goes home. Ada wasn't there. When she finally does come home, she has Chava with her. Chava's back. Chava tells his story from part 1 to Altman. What's crazy in this book is when people tell stories that we have already heard, they just actually tell them. It's not like, and then Chava tells his story, and then we like cut to the thing. No, they repeat to you what happened.
This book could have been shorter. But also, as he's telling the story, he is eating all the food they have. And
he's like, can I take some of this home? Actually, can I take this to go? And they're like, yeah, anything you want in the fridge. He's like, anything?
And he takes it all.
Altman asks if Chava...
Except for what, like no onions? What was the thing that he wouldn't eat?
I don't remember.
He was an onion. He's like, I'm not eating that.
Altman asks if Chava can take him to where he found the body. Chava's like, sure, but if you have a message to send, promise you would choose me to send it. And I was like, is that his job?
Yeah, they get paid.
He's a little messenger boy?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's what he said, that they get paid by the scientists to deliver messages. And so he's like, hire me. I'm the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Altman's like, yeah, sure. And then they leave for the beach. Now we're back to Tanner in chapter 28. He's chillaxing.
Mysterious phone call.
Asking questions about Dr. Hennessy's death. And
like,
Tanner
is this a reporter? Is this the police?
Hangs
Who
up.
is calling?
I think it's like a reporter probably. Because he's thinking about this whole thing is an ethical issue.
Yeah.
I'm like, now you think it's an ethical issue, Tanner? He's like, I think that was fucked up actually. I just grew empathy for the first time. It's hard out here for a rich man like me. He fell asleep and woke up to his phone ringing, and the display reads Dantec, and he's like, hello? There's static on the other line, and then he's like, the phone isn't even on. His phone is off.
Yeah, he turned it off because of the reporter.
Then it rang again. Dantec shows up behind him and is like, you gonna answer that? He's like, oh, Dantec, you're dead. And Dantec tells him to touch him. Tanner believes now, because every time we touch, we get this feeling.
Because every time we
Because
touch,
I swear I could fly. I didn't realize there was a joke there. I was like, wow, what's happening? Dantic needs Tanner's help. He says he needs Tanner to share his oxygen tank with him. He's having trouble breathing. Tanner's like, I'm not in an oxygen tank.
Yeah, I had that he dreams of Dantek and the host situation.
He's hallucinating right now. And then he reaches up and he's like, I am wearing an oxygen tank. Whoa.
So he has to cut the hose.
I said, I think we know where this is going.
Yeah.
He cuts his breathing tube, aka throat. Dantek tells him, you should have left it alone, and then dips. So
and I was like, did he just cut his own throat again?
His breathing tube? Yeah.
So we got the Hammond, the witch, Tanner. Although Hennessy didn't
what?
cut his throat.
No, he didn't. He just fell asleep from lack of oxygen.
Yeah.
Chapter 29, Chava. Chava's taking Altman and Ada to the beach.
And he tells the story of the Bruja, the witch.
Mm-hmm. They find the burnt remains, and they find little, like, weird twisted bones on it. And they're like, that's gross. They have no idea what to make of the balloon man corpse. So they go to the bar.
So I'm going to harp on Ada again.
Okay.
Because she's an anthropologist. So you can be a cultural anthropologist or you can be a physical anthropologist. But part of your degree to be an anthropologist is you have to study both. So she should know more about the skeletal mermaid. Where is her information?
I don't know.
She is so worthless in this book.
She is worthless, and it is a bummer. But
as the only female,
she doesn't represent all women.
But she should represent being an anthropologist, which is what she is. I know she's more of a cultural anthropologist than a physical anthropologist. But girl, you went to school. You should know.
It's okay.
I know later she asks him to give it up. Because she's like, this is serious now, and like people are in danger, and like
they're sitting outside drinking beers. They go outside of the bar.
And Altman's like, I can't give it up. I can't quit you. They go to the bar, minus Chava, because he went home.
Because he's young. He's too young to go to the bar.
And then that drunk comes up and
steals Altman's beer, and then he drinks it all, almost like, hey, and he's like, oh, she's like, oh, that's the town drunk.
Yeah. Everyone knows that guy.
And he looks like he has information, but he wants Ada's beer too. So Ada's like, fine, I'll give you my beer. And then they talk about names, which is stupid.
The meaning of names, of what does Ada's name mean, and then he talks about Altman's, but not, like he did talk about Michael, because Michael is one of the angels.
Because Michael Altman is his full name.
Yeah. And they talk about Altman being German, right?
I think so. The drunk says he'll spill the beans about the devil's tale if they buy him a drink. So this has been happening for a while. Everyone...
it came before his grandfather tells him about it.
Every once in a while, the devil tales awakens and sends their dead back to the shores. They destroy these messengers, like throwing wood at them and lighting them on fire, and plead with those in their heads to put the tale back to sleep. The creature on the beach had the same tattoo as a sailor the drunk saw a few weeks ago at the bar. Mm-hmm. So Ada and Altman decide to go home, and then they see Tanner's death on the news.
Yeah.
Altman is going to tell Ada because she is going to want
like she was in the shower and he was waiting for her, and he looks at his hollow bed and he sees the news.
Yeah. He's going to tell her because she is going to want him to stop, and he does not want to stop.
Yeah.
So he's going to get to the bottom of this, even if it kills him. It's his catchphrase.
Mm-hmm. It's the ending of several chapters.
And it will kill him. Chapter 30.
Spoiler.
Oh, come on. If you play Dead Space, you know that guy's dead. The whole book, I was like, how are they going to kill Altman?
Doesn't he come back to life? Isn't that the whole point of...
No, he actually doesn't come back to life.
He doesn't become part of he does no convergence for
Altman. Convergence for Altman.
We meet Lenny Small, another person you don't need to know the name
of.
No,
you don't. He's the president of Dredger Corp. And he gets a call from Murkoff.
But Craig Murkoff is a name you're going to need to know.
Super important. Remember?
Is he the colonel?
I don't know.
Because after this, we don't hear from the Colonel, so I think he's the Colonel.
Okay, well...
Because also the Colonel keeps talking about killing people, and that's what Markov...
Oh, Markov.
He's like, you're expendable, right? And so I think the Colonel is Markov.
Okay. Who I think is the Colonel. Yes. Calls Tanner... I wrote it. Calls Tanner... calls to say Tanner is dead.
Yeah.
He's calling Lenny Smalls the president of Dredger Corp.
He is starting a salvage operation.
Markov had a camera in Tanner's room. Ew.
Yeah.
So that's why he saw him do that to himself. He also tells Small that the signal pulse has stopped, but the gravity anomaly is still there.
So they apparently, this is where we start getting the station. He's going to start a salvage operation by moving the station. So there is this gigantic station that I guess the submarine came off of,
Station's being towed into position.
Yeah, so it's moving the station, which we will get a glimpse of here very soon, where there's this whole like underwater
literally
laboratory.
Half the book takes place on this station.
And it's got hundreds of people working there, but they can't talk to each other.
Underwater laboratory, and they're going to use it to extract the marker. That's their plan.
Well, I think they want to, to bring up the marker. But they also need to get the bathoscope. That Hennessy and Dantec are still down there.
Yeah, they're still down there. They gotta get a rescue crew. I mean, that's what they're telling the news. They're like, we're building this to get them out.
Yeah.
So, the 31 is the science boys are back in town.
Mm-hmm.
Showalter, Ramirez, Scud, and Altman are talking at the bar about how the signal's gone, and Aitman wants the four of them to go public and write a proposal
grant
to
proposal,
investigate.
Because nothing says public like writing a grant proposal that only a handful of people.
They're like, look, if we write a grant proposal, this is so science.
Who are they writing it to?
So funny.
That's
everywhere.
My other question.
They were like, we're writing it to all of the science places that'll give us money.
Because I'm like, so typically
the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yes, I'm like, what is happening here? I was like, they're
the Chicxulub government grant. And they're like, if we get a grant to dig the thing in the middle of the crater up, then that'll slow Dredger Corp down.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely wanting to get Dredger Corp's attention. They do not have a grant
for this, for sure. No permits.
No grant. They're doing it by the book. They're following protocol. They're getting grants.
Which, off topic, but there's some great books about people that they do salvage for like pirate ships and stuff like that.
That sounds so fun.
I don't know if I still have it. I might get it away, but it was
I wanted there to be a game where you are like the person that are going after Laura Croft and Nathan Drake because you're part of the government and you want to stop them. Like, where's your permit? And
it's the permit hunter.
Hands up! I'm a government
not
official.
Not to mention the massive amount of destructions that they give to definitely protected site. But so that's one of the bigger issues in the last like 20 years with these people because
adventurers
they don't have permits and they're trying to like take the money for themselves, but then the government of the people that own that part, they're like, no, that treasure belongs to us.
Yeah.
Like, we can give you a finder's fee.
They give you a finder's fee?
Sometimes. It depends on if you are permitted, right? And not
do you have your grants and your permits?
But I guess it's super... I think the book is called Pirate Hunter, actually. It was really great. I recommend it.
Does that guy hunt pirates?
They were looking for a pirate ship.
Oh.
But they get, like, chased by a gang, and it was such a good book, but it's, like, true story, so...
That's sick.
So it was really good. But, okay, back to topic.
Part 4.
The Descent.
Chapter 32. Altman has a dream about playing Dead Space 1. Literally, he has a dream about being Isaac in Dead Space 1, which is so weird. Why? BK, my guy. Why'd you do that? That's super strange. You know what? I know why you did that. Because one of...
He's like, hire me as your...
the things that they were thinking about doing for Dead Space was that Isaac is a reincarnation of Altman. So maybe they're working off of that theory. Because that was one of the theories that they were going to go off of. That's why they're both kind of immune to the marker stuff. And that's why the marker likes them enough to imprint plants into their brains. So maybe that's why.
He wakes up and Markov is just like chilling by his bed.
Tim, Tom, Terry, and Markov are beside his bed. They're like, we need to talk. We know about the grant.
Yeah. He's like, your grant has been denied. Tell us everything you know. And Altman's like, all right, I'll tell you everything I know. But you have to give me a ride on your boat Like, I want, and then Markov's like, you just told us everything you knew. Why do I need you?
Yeah.
I do have to say, as much as I was annoyed by some of these characters, Markov and Altman are good adversaries.
They are.
Because they're very similar.
Markov is an interesting villain because he's like, I can either choose to recruit you or I can kill you. And then he points a gun to his head.
His whole thing is like everyone's expendable. So, make sure
he's very
that
agitated at
you know your
Altman
worth.
for like kind of not being expendable, but also being a rebel. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It is
I
interesting.
think he admires Altman.
I admire Altman.
But,
Even if it kills him.
thinks that he's always like, what can I get from you?
So he points a gun to his head, but it's empty. So he's like, I always planned on recruiting you. I just wanted you to squirm a little bit.
Yeah. He didn't give in, so he got a ticket to ride.
And he's like, well, I don't know what happened to Ada, though.
Yeah, because they took her.
Yeah, Ada's gone. They took her ahead of time. Chapter 33, Tim, Tom, and Terry watch him pack. They impound his phone, and he can have his phone back? No, he's have his computers back. Yeah. They're going to check his computers. They destroy his phone. He can have his computers back, though, because it has info on it that they want.
And then while he's packing, they tell him about Hammond.
And how he died.
And because Altman's like, you guys definitely killed him. And they're like,
no, I swear, we didn't kill him. He killed himself.
I will not take that slander.
How dare you say that to me, Terry, Tom, and Timmy? They go to the Dredger Court building. A helicopter is on the roof. Ada's in the helicopter.
And so is Field.
Field, Scud, and Showalter, but no Ramirez.
Yeah, Ramirez isn't there. Sorry.
He's either dead or he just got off scot-free.
Don't hear from him again, so no one knows.
I hope he's okay.
He's like, there's too many people in this helicopter. And
Ramirez wasn't that helpful. He was like, there was a boat here once. And they were like, okay, he doesn't know anything. He's hanging out with Captain Jesus on his boat, vibing out. They land on a huge floating compound made of glass.
Like, huge. Again, there are like hundreds of people on this boat.
They take a lift down. It's underwater, which is cool. Yeah. They go down to the lab where Markov spins around in a chair. And he's such a villain.
Yes, he is very.
He spins it. He does a little like cool chair sit, and he's like, "Welcome to your new home." They're 3 weeks away from getting to the Crater Center.
It's moving very, very slowly. It's like a cruise ship, kind of. But Ada and Altman are the only couple on the boat.
So they get a broom closet alone, so they can
bed and a dresser.
They got a lot of ologists on the team. They listed all of them, but I was like, there's just a lot of olologists and a lot of military guards. He noticed.
I also put, why is this chapter so long?
Because they got to explain all the ologists. Altman in particular is being watched because obviously Jerkoff doesn't think he's,
It's like something with this guy.
Altman meets Jackson Hendricks, a pilot. Altman
submarines.
And Hendricks becomes friends. They're going to go on a little submarine mission together with Altman as a co-pilot.
Can I say that Edgar Mosby got the shaft?
Because he's a drunk?
It was not necessary at all to have this character.
No, yeah, Mosby is so pointless.
So Mosby is the co-pilot.
But he keeps, being too drunk to drive.
But he doesn't want to do practice runs, and so Altman's like, I'll do practice drives.
Because Altman's doing his darndest to figure this shit out, even though...
Yeah, he's, super nosy, but...
Yeah.
Same.
Because that's why he's being watched, because he's super nosy, and Markov knows it. So, yeah. And Markov approves. He's like, yeah, Altman can go in your sub. That's fine. And so Altman's like, I'll take readings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, chapter 34?
Mm-hmm. They're 6 to 7 days away from the center.
Hendricks and Mosby, or Moresby, I think it's Moresby, are on a mission to try and dive as deep as they can to take readings. And Moresby...
But yeah, Hendricks is like, we have a problem because... he
got
Moresby,
drunk last night.
Yeah, is MIA, and he's supposed to be here.
He's here for an inspection. They're getting their thing inspected.
Yeah, so he's like, Altman's like, I'll find him.
Go wake him up. So then he does wake him up, and he drops him off.
He throws him in the shower and cold water, and then is like, get your shit together, man. And Moresby's like, I don't want to go. And So, yeah, Altman has to walk him over there.
He leaves him at the sub, and he's like, I'm going to go get Hendrix.
Do you think he's being,
right back?
Like, haunted?
What do you mean, Moresby?
Like, yeah.
Maybe that's why he doesn't want to go.
Maybe that's why he wants to
I don't
drink.
blame him. All these fuckers got kidnapped.
Yeah.
By this guy, and they're like, okay, work on it or die.
It's basically everyone that was working for Dredger Corps is recruited.
That's true. If you either work for Dredger Corps or you knew about
or you got the signal.
You got the signal.
No
then and you believe in it, then
mm-hmm.
you're gonna get kidnapped.
That's why you don't open emails that say Dredger Corps conspiracy.
Dredger Corps conspiracy theory.
They're like, thanks, Altman. We now have your send list.
Went to my spam folder. Sorry, missed it. What about all those people who see it later?
So, Altman, like, leaves to go tell Hendrix that, like, hey, I found your dude.
He's back. He's by the sub. And then he goes back, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Moresby's, whatever. He's not important. Gone. He fell from a lift.
He found another bottle, got drunk, and then fell from a lift.
And broke his neck.
Yeah. And I was like, this is not important.
And Altman's like, I guess I'm
the only important thing is they're like, okay, so Moresby's dead, so I guess Altman, you're now driving the submarine. And he's like, sweet.
Stupid.
And so
I mean, maybe he saw a ghost and then...
Yeah, but that could have been easily... Because we've already seen one of them before.
Yeah.
I was like, this is pointless.
I was so waiting for, like, Moresby POV, but nope, we don't get it.
No.
35, they arrived at the center.
This is a week later, yeah.
Altman and Hendrix are going down. They went down, they got some data. Not as far as Altman wanted, though, so they had to come back.
Yeah, because they're going a little bit deeper each time as they get closer, and so this is deeper than they've ever gone before, and the signal has started again.
That's why they were hustled back up to the command center. And Altman starts to have nightmares. And Hendrix needs to get a psychological profile done.
Yeah, because something about him's a little off. Stevens, is this the first time that we've met Stevens?
Yeah.
What? Is he's a shrink, I'm assuming?
I guess he's a shrink.
The word, again...
What?
Do some research, because this is a HIPAA violation that...
Oh, yeah, because he comes up...
He goes like, to Altman.
Hey, Altman, I want to talk about Hendrix.
I don't think he's psychologically sound. And first of all, if it's part of your job, you would go to Markov and do that and not go to Altman.
Yeah, everyone hates Markov. Like, everyone hates Markov.
But you also can't tell other people's...
Because he's worried... Stevens, who doesn't even... really know Altman, is like, I'm worried about you, Altman. If you go down there with him,
you in danger,
he
girl.
might go crazy. And Altman's like, he seems fine, so I think
because he also is like, if I say he's not, then this trip will be canceled, and so I'll take that risk.
Yeah, Altman will,
because what could go wrong? I wrote dipshit next to it.
Chapter 36. Altman and Hendrix go down under the sea.
Hendrix is crying because he doesn't want to die.
He's
like Hennessy
freaking out. Altman's like, chill out.
Which is probably why Moresby was like, this is not the job.
Yeah.
These people die.
He's like, we're going to take some readings, and then we're going to come in and come out, and the pulse is on, and it's like on and off again, is what it's pulsing.
Yes. I think because Hendrix is crying, Altman takes over the driving. And that allows Hendrix to go again to the windows.
The porthole, and he sees his dad. And he's like, it's okay that he's out. The pressure won't hurt him because he's dead. Yeah. And Altman's like, oh my God.
He's like, we gotta let him in. And so Altman is weirdly trying to play along and to incapacitate this man.
This is kind of, yeah.
The shoe thing was...
Hendrix wants to let his dad in. Yeah, if you're cold, they're cold with him in. Hendrix bangs his head against the porthole glass.
Yeah.
And Altman's like, yo, don't do that. He tries to, like, raise the craft, and Hendrix knocks him down, yelling, don't touch my dad! Yeah. Don't touch him! Altman's like, okay. I heard your dad's a great guy. We should definitely bring him into the submarine through the hatch.
But because of how deep they are, it's pressurized, so he can't open the hatch. But so Altman takes his shoes off because he's like, I'm going to hit this motherfucker with my shoes.
It's so fun. And then Hendrix sees his shoes.
He's like, why are your shoes off?
He's like, oh, these are really good shoes, and your dad's such a great guy. I thought I'd gift him my shoes. And Hendrix is like, that checks out.
Oh, what a great idea. How nice of you.
So then he turns to go open the porthole or whatever, and Altman smacks him unconscious and then ties him up.
And then as he's doing this, he sees this weird fish outside.
He sees a necromorph fish, which is cool. And he films it. And he also sees,
wouldn't that spread throughout the... I mean, it's a crater. It's not like they're cut off. Like, wouldn't that just spread throughout the water?
Well, if they're close... Well, I mean, according to the dead space around the marker, we must not be that close to the marker if there's necromorph fish over here.
So he takes a hollow...
You know, I like the theory that... So not only did this crater kill the dinosaurs and cause them to become necromorphs or whatever...
And then we find out later may have
But all of those weird deep-sea underwater fish
that
we find are all necromorphs. That's why they look like that. And I'm like, I like that theory. That's cool.
That is interesting.
He also finds this like pink fleshy cloud thing. And he's like, I want a sample of that so bad.
So
Hendrix wakes up though.
Yeah.
So Altman's like, okay, time to raise the ship. You woke up.
This again,
Chapter 37.
When he antagonizes Hendrix.
Oh yeah. Altman puts out an SOS. So Hendrix is babbling and shouting. Markov is on comms, like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, we're trying to get a hold of you.
Altman re-smacked and re-tied up Hendrix, and it's like, I'll tell you when we get to the service.
But yeah, you're gonna need guards.
He wants to do something sneaky because he wants the pink clouds that are like
they're on like the windows on the ship as they're going up because he ran into it. So he's like, I want to know more about that thing.
So this is what he's gonna do. His evil scheme is he's like, Hendrix, why did you abandon your dad?
Yeah.
And this makes Hendrix go crazy and bite him. And the guards manage to get to Hendrix in time, and they're like, because he purposely riles them up so that the guards are busy, so that Altman can
they're still raising this
into the water
bathoscope, and so the guards have like opened it and come in, but the bathoscope's still rising, and so instead of getting out on the plank, he like jumps out of the bathoscope into the water.
So his excuse could be, he went crazy, tried to bite him, so he jumped off. And he takes a personal sample of the pink stuff, and they were hustled out.
He, like, puts it on a cloth, right?
Yeah, he puts it on a cloth.
And I put, Altman sucks.
He wants that sample. And also, that guy's freaking, he's too far gone, dude. He's too far gone.
As we will find out in 2 chapters. Around 38?
38. They let Altman change and shower. They stole his clothes, but he hid
the pink stuff in a water bottle.
So that's safe. They take him to Markov for a debrief, and he tells him almost everything. He shows him the fish, but he doesn't tell him about the pink stuff.
And he's like, hey, you're going to need to add better comm equipment. And Markov was like, we already are.
Markov wonders why the same craze from the pulse didn't happen to Altman. They don't know, but A-Man will have to go down again with a different person each time.
Yeah, because they can't...
but he's like, fine, but I want a trank gun.
He's like, here, we already thought about that too.
I want the other person to be strapped to the chair the whole time.
Does that happen?
Yeah, it does actually happen.
Yeah, I just put the trank gun.
Those are my 2 things. And he's like, well, you don't really have a choice. You have to do it anyway, but I'll do it for you anyway because I'm a nice guy.
I was like, yeah.
Chapter 39 is Hendrix POV.
Yeah.
He wakes up very confused.
He's locked up.
He's doing things he can't control, like someone else is controlling him. He'll grab, bite, and he kills his nurse.
So he sees his dad. His dad's talking to him. The nurse comes in, and he's got, like, super strength.
I guess.
And, yeah, he, like, pummels her
to
death.
He beats her to death.
Breaks her arm, and then he is lying on the ground because he got shot.
He tries to leave. His dad shows up and wants to talk to him. His dad tells him convergence isn't the only thing that matters, and they want to become one. Tell him, Jason. Tell him. Then Hendrix gets shot. Because he couldn't tell him in time. Chapter 40, Altman is talking to, I don't know, ichthyologist.
Ichthyologist about the fish. Is that a fish person? I didn't look it up.
He also talks about he talks to Scud about the pink cloud.
Well, he gives him the tissue.
And he's like, it's living.
It's tissue.
Flesh.
He gives him the tissue with the tissue on it.
The water bottle with the tissue on it.
Which is, if you've played the game, is all the stuff that takes over the ships.
Which is like, because this also, there's going to be necromorphs in this, spoilers, I guess, but...
Well, the fish is already there.
I thought that when the marker shuts off and stops pulsing, that the necromorphs just turn into goo, and that was what the goo is. But that's not true. I don't know where the goo really comes from.
It's just dead tissue. So the whole thing with necromorphs is that
shedding.
It's like it will continue to like reanimate your dead or like dead tissue. Like that's why they grow more and more. So it's just
like a cancer.
Yeah, so it's just reanimated dead tissue.
They're probably just shedding all over the place. Icky. He talks to Ada about weird dreams. A bunch of people
they have an awful relationship.
Are going crazy, killing other people, putting weird symbols on the wall. They're trying to cover it up the best they can.
All of the people that have died so far, which is a whole list.
Markov gives Altman the tranquilizer gun. Altman has 15 minutes before he has to leave. He says goodbye to Ada, and she tells him what happened to Hendrix because he didn't know. And he's like, great, thanks for telling me that right before I
go back down with some other random person who's about to, like, kill me and a bunch of other people.
Good thing they're tied to the chair. Part 5, Collapse. Chapter 41. Altman took 2 trips. Had to trank someone once. The 3rd trip was with David Kimball, an engineer. I wrote his name down because I didn't know. When they go down, they see the marker. They record some of the symbols on the marker. Kimball starts to freak out. They move in closer and see the first submarine. So they're like, okay, we're going to launch this submarine up, with Dantec and all that.
The first trip, so he uses the tranquilizer on Kimball, but the first trip was with Stevens, the doctor. And so that one was fine.
Stevens is fine. He's a smart. I hate that. In Dead Space 2, they're like, if you are stupid, then you go crazy. But if you're smart,
you're using different brainwaves, I guess.
I think the marker either wants to use you as flesh or use you to recreate itself, use you to reproduce.
It's like you're either
I like your
gonna
genes.
Build something for us, or we're using your genetic mass.
Your genes are sexy. let me imprint blueprints in your mind. Sexy, come over here. That's the marker speaking.
They either use your brain or your body.
Yeah. You're either a meat sack or a pile of brains. Chapter 42, Altman took a chunk of...
So they bring up the second bathoscope.
Yeah.
And that still has the core sample from Dantec. And so he
yoinks
steals
it. He
kleps
that.
Here.
Mm-mm. He went to the bathroom to examine it. It had an indentation in it. He tested it in a lab. It's weird. That's what I put. The old bathoscape disappeared after that. They covered it up. They're trying to cover that up.
So we also, we learned pretty early on that they are not telling scientists like everything. They just want you to work on your special project.
Why Altman's being sneaky, because he wants to know everything, but they're keeping it a secret. So he's like, fine, I'll do my own research.
And so he goes around just to talk to everyone, and they're on different shifts and they're in different like places. But I'm like, there are hundreds of people on this ship that I was like, that's impossible.
The pulse signal's interfering with radios and vids. But I think the reason why Altman's going down daily now is there's 2 reasons. And I think it's 1, he can resist it. So that's nice. And 2, I think Markov's trying to keep him busy because he knows he's been snooping around.
Like, if you're not on the ship, then you can't ask.
Then you can't talk to people.
And so he talks to Showalter, and Showalter thinks that they're close to bringing up the artifact, or the marker is what we get the name from already.
Yeah, somebody said the marker. The black marker. I don't know who. I think
the marker comes from.
It comes from the ghosts. The ghosts
Altman's
call it
hallucination.
That. Yeah. Wait, he's not hallucinating.
He hasn't hallucinated yet.
I think it's because he's going down with people who are hallucinating, and they probably told him it's marker, the black marker. So he's like, okay, I'm just gonna call it that. And
people are starting to get pretty paranoid, but also because it's all secrets and stuff. When you be paranoid if like you are only given a small piece of information and told to like mind your business,
be scary. You don't know what's going on. Everyone's going crazy and like killing themselves and killing other people. Ada's friends with the medical team now, and she's like, everyone's going crazy. Here's the deets on the crazy people this evening. 43? Chapter 43.
Torquato?
Altman is on another descent with the researcher named Torgado. He has a weird black box, and he's not answering Altman's questions.
But, there's readings on it, and then he gets super paranoid of like, don't look at my box.
Yeah, because Altman's like, I'm going to try to sneak a peek.
Yeah,
and he's
like, well, what is it? And he's like, don't worry about it.
Not important. But then he like attacks Altman.
Yeah.
he tells him to answer the call, and then Altman passes out. He, like, chokes him out. When Altman woke up, Torquato was trying to open the hatch. The oxygen was offline.
Mm.
Altman knocks Torquato off the ladder, and they fight, and Altman knocks him out. I put kills him, because it sounded like he killed him, but he...
So, but he, like, when Altman wakes up, though, Altman ends up attacking him.
Altman wakes up, Torquato's, because he's trying to open the hatch, and that's going to flood, because they're underwater.
Yeah, but this is the other thing where it's...
Bless you.
Bless you, Bubba's. It's too pressurized. Right?
Yeah, they're deep. They're deep underwater.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, it's going to flood in here if you open the hatch. The oxygen's offline. Altman, he has to, like, shake him off of a ladder, and then they fight, and then Altman knocks him out. Then Altman has to... He's like, I have to kill him. They don't have enough oxygen.
Because he tried to trank him, right? And
he tries to trank him.
That's what he hit himself, and that's why he passed out.
Because for some reason, Torquato took off the, like, the oxygen refueler thing, which is the same thing that happened with Hennessy. Yeah. For some reason, the ghosts are like, take out the oxygen. Because he was trying to use it to open the hatch, like a crowbar.
The marker alone, which would make sense. It'd be like... Yeah. No, you're not going to go up.
But he's like, am I really going to kill a guy to save myself? And he's like, absolutely, I am.
But not only does he kill him, he strangles him watching the light fade from his eyes.
Because he sees him go back to normal for 2 seconds, and then he dies. He records an SOS message, and he records one for Ada. And then Torquato talks to him, saying, listen, I need you to understand. And then he chokes him, but he's a ghost. So
I also put, like, how many people... have to try to kill him before he stops going down there.
I don't think he can. He has no choice. Because Markov will just kill him if he doesn't. So when Altman wakes up, he sees Ada's dead mom. And she's like, I have a message for you.
Which he met, like, once, right?
Yeah, he met once and she died of, like, cancer.
Yeah, she warns him about the marker and convergence.
Leave it alone. Convergence is death. Don't let the marker do it. And then he passes out again. Because he wakes up and he's like, oh, great. I see ghosts. This sucks.
It's like, I'm no longer a special unicorn. Now I'm also having hallucinations.
Chapter 44, he woke up with an oxygen mask on his face. Dr. Stevens knocked him out again when he starts talking about the marker. And when he wakes up, Markov and Officer Krax is there. Remember Krax?
Another sociopath.
Altman tells him everything about his hallucinations.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ada comes in. And then I think it's the next chapter. Yeah, it's pretty short. It's pretty short. Yeah. Chapter 45.
Altman starts having more hallucinations.
More ghosts are talking to him about unity and convergence. Ada woke up one night.
Because, like, he doesn't have any, like, living relatives left.
Yeah.
Which...
I thought maybe he was immune because, like, maybe he just didn't have anybody who died.
Yeah. He doesn't care about people.
But, no. He has a bunch of people who died.
Yeah, his dad
Ada
talks to
is,
him,
like, bummed. She's like, you have
sister.
to talk to my mom?
Yeah.
Aw, I want to talk to my mom.
But he doesn't realize the significance of talking to a dead relative. Like, to him, it's just
to him, he's
crazy.
like, yeah, this is insane. You being here sucks because I'm going crazy and you're dead. Which is like the normal reaction to that. Everyone's like, oh, it's so good to have you back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ada gets super, super jealous that her mom talked to Altman instead of coming to see her. Like,
but one night she did wake up and she's like, I saw my mom.
Yeah.
Yay! And Altman's like, oh no.
Obsessed.
She is weird. She really wants to see her mom, like, all the time.
Yeah.
Altman now starts to see his dead sister. Yeah. So, because, like, if the ghost isn't working for you, then
they try someone else.
They'll try someone else. They'll just go through the roster
like,
of dead
your
people.
Dad didn't get that information to you.
Oh, yeah, you don't like your dad? Okay, what about your sister? Mm-hmm. What about that? Would this work? Would you like this one?
Which is where I have, like, I was like... Because you told me about the different alien race that would warn about convergence and so, but I was like, what if it's your body's natural, like, preservation?
Trying to fight against.
Yeah,
maybe.
about, like, the DNA change. So, like, it's your memories.
But how do you explain the, like, Dantic killing Tanner situation?
Well, that was
Is that the marker telling you to do that?
Oh, you mean
do you think
Tanner
it's
killing
because
himself?
Tanner feels guilty about Dantic, so the marker uses that by creating a Dantic ghost, or is the Dantic ghost warning him?
Because the Dantic ghost doesn't really warn him.
No, it's just like, hey, I need oxygen.
Yeah.
Give it to me. So it's like there's two ghosts. In your mind, there's two ghosts. Yeah. It's the marker ghost that caused you to slit your throat, And it's the other ghosts that tell you, don't touch the marker.
Yeah. Put it back. Don't touch it.
Maybe the marker's trying to fight ghosts with ghosts.
But I think that's what it would make, because I was always confused with the fact that they said, like, leave the marker alone. Don't touch it. It's bad. Convergence is bad. Just leave it. Because it's constantly, like, warning you against
You can
this
tell
thing.
if you play Dead Space 1, because you can't tell if Nicole is on your side or not, because
Yeah.
she'll flip-flop.
But
She does it in
it's-
Dead Space 2 also, but she's always on the side of the marker, and she's just manipulating you.
But it's also because you see a recording of her and she's talking about your mom in the first Dead Space game. So it reminds me of, there was something else where it ended up being memories of the past, like past conversations you've had with them, like cut together, and then that's the new communication. So like nothing is actually
That's why
new and
her
created.
voice is over the, like, it does
Yeah.
that, the filter over it all the time. But, like, Altman's like, yeah, we're being manipulated. And Ada's like, no, we're not. My mom just wanted to visit. He wonders why his ghosts are always changing, and it's always Ada's mom because she's satisfied with that ghost.
People are starting to group together, and there's a new, like, religion that's kind of happening.
Yeah, he told Stevens everything, his psychologist, psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Scientist Myers went crazy and stabbed a guy named Westerman. Altman comes across a religion meeting. This is the start of unitology.
The marker has become an object.
She's
from
joining
gods.
unitologist, Ada.
Ada is also.
And so they're having issues because he's like, that's crazy. She's
These people
"No."
be crazy.
They believe the marker is divine, sent by God for humanity's benefit. They believe in it, that it will unify us, which is funny enough because it splits everyone to believers and non-believers. Religion.
Know the irony of religion.
Altman has been going down alone. He thinks maybe the marker is a homing beacon for aliens or something like that. One night, Fields and a dozen others comes to talk to Altman.
Will you be our god?
Fields wants Altman to lead the unitologist because he's been the closest to the marker and
You know the
it
most.
left him alive. So they're like, you're chosen by the marker. And he's like, no, I don't believe in this. I will not be your prophet.
Fields like, is this a test?
He's like, oh, so you're a reluctant prophet. You don't have a choice. You're a
Yeah.
prophet now. You're reluctant.
That's what this book should have been called, The Reluctant Prophet.
He shakes everyone's hand as they leave, and he's like, okay.
And this is the question that I put on Fable. It's like, if someone comes up to you to ask you to be their prophet, like, how do you respond to that?
No.
Because, like, saying no could also put you in serious danger. Because prophets don't typically live long.
Well, they have to become martyrs, right? Otherwise, your religion isn't. If your icon is still alive, then it's a cult. But if your icon's dead, then
It's
it's
a
a
religion.
religion. It's the rules.
We on 46?
Yeah.
They bring the marker up, but they're like, Altman, thanks for your service. You can't stick around for this. Markov's like, go to your room.
He also, his head doesn't hurt, and there's no ghosts.
Yeah.
He's like, that was a great run. And then Markov's like, you're done.
And he's like, no, I want to stay. And he's like, you're expendable.
Oh my god. Chapter 47. That was a very short one.
Yeah.
Allman left his bath escape
This
and
was
they
funny
went to
when
where
he-
the marker will be housed, and he couldn't get in because he doesn't have a pass.
But he's like, I know that guy.
So he's like, I'm going to use the unitologists for this. He wants to get to the marker. He thinks it wants something from him, and he's like, maybe it's this piece that I stole. Maybe it like wants it back or something. So he asks Fields for help. Field gets Henry Harmon to help them bring Altman.
Which we will see later, and I totally forgot.
Remember Harmon? He's important. And he has access to the marker.
Yeah.
He's like one of those who works in there.
He's got
So they're
super
like,
clearance.
wear this weird outfit. And then
They're wear
here's
all black. We're going
a
to sneak you
pass.
in.
Yeah.
Here's a pass. Hopefully they don't look too close
Wear
at
this
it.
cult robe and have this pass. And so Harmon and Altman get in.
But they also have this like necklace thing that shows that they're part of the religion.
Yeah, it's shaped like the marker.
And
Remember that too. Altman tries to film, but he's like, that's not allowed. And he's like, I don't care.
yeah.
And he goes, he can't find where the chunk that he has goes. So he's like, oh.
But he also, to me, he was like, Field, I have to return this piece to it. And then he doesn't tell Harmon about it. He does it. He's just like there to film. And then they're like, all right, we got to go.
Well, because he's like, I don't know where this piece goes. But then they're like, we have to leave. So he wants to leak the video to the public of the marker. So that's his next
He
plan.
downloads the images. He's put like sews it into his jacket. I'm like, they don't even check you, dude. Like, they don't care.
He's trying so hard.
He is being told that he's, like, taken off the ship. So he's like, all right, any minute now.
Chapter 48 is Markov's POV. He's having trouble figuring out the marker and its symbols, and it started to broadcast again. Because of the unitologist, Markov is losing control of his project, and so Markov calls the cracks to deal with the unitologists.
So they were doing all of these experiments on the marker to try to figure out what it was, what does it mean, all this stuff, and then the scientists basically band together and was like,
they're protesting.
Don't harm. This is a list of our demands, and Cracks is like, fuck off.
And he shoots Fields in the foot, who's leading the protest. A shootout happens. Crack starts shooting at the marker, and this causes everyone to have, like, massive migraines.
He shoots it, like, 3 times, and then the last time, it's, like, blinding pain.
I mean, it kind of happens in the game. I'm pretty sure you shoot the marker, and you're like, oh, yeah.
So you'll comply with our demands? Crack's like, no.
Yeah.
But call your people off.
Take a bunch of people to prison.
Yeah, because 4 people die.
Yeah. So that happened. Chapter 49 is Altman can feel the pulse starting again.
So when Ada was already taken off the ship, I was like, oh, she's dead. And then, because they keep threatening her to Altman. But no, they're now on the mainland. And I was like, oh, she's not dead. But they can feel, because Crack shot the marker, they can feel that it's pulsing again.
He's in the detainment chamber with Ada.
And a bunch of other scientists.
Wants to go outside, but he can't.
Nope.
He started to manipulate the unitologist to obey Altman to help him.
Ada just wants to see her mom again. That's all she wants in life. Scud
confirms the pulse.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, there is a pulse.
He's like, what does that mean? Scud's like, I don't know.
I'm not paid enough to tell you what that means. It's a pulse, though. He sees Tim or Tom. I wasn't sure which one.
It's Tim.
Went crazy, and he runs off his guard post. And
he's talking to someone. He's guarding the door. He's talking to someone, and then he drops his gun and then runs off.
And so Altman's like, I'm going to take this opportunity.
So he grabs Ada, and
his wallet, his holopad, and his woman, and he runs out the door.
Chapter 50 is Tim's POV, and this is where he hallucinates talking to his dad. And his dad's like, your brother's naughty.
Wouldn't listen. Tom didn't listen. So Tim's like, I have to go check on Tom. Dad, guard the door. Here, have my gun. And
he just drops it
on the floor. And he's like, he'll pick it up. Mm-hmm. And then Tim finds Tom dead. He cut his own throat. Yeah. So I guess if you don't listen to the ghosts, maybe they have you do
because he didn't answer the phone?
Well,
Tanner? Because Tanner didn't answer the dredger's call?
Maybe.
He was like,
if the ghost, you're not listening, die.
But Altman doesn't listen to the ghosts. But he just gets a new ghost.
But they like him. Maybe they're, I don't know. Maybe if you're crazy, but you're not crazy enough to listen to your ghosts. There's like different levels. Chapter 51, Stevens and Cracks are watching a press conference Altman put on in Washington because he ran out. Yes. He escaped.
So now he went from Mexico to Washington and has a press conference. And Markov's pissed.
Scientists accuse military of cover-up. Alien life confirmed. Markov's like, okay, I have a plan to stamp this out.
He's like, I need a plane ticket and whatever room is next to his.
Let me know where he's staying, because we can find that out easy.
It's like, you in danger, girl.
Part 6, Hell Unleashed, Chapter 52.
Altman's doing a bunch of interviews, but is super pissed that Ada just wants to talk about her mom, which makes them look less credible.
Yeah, everyone thinks he's an extremist. And they're not really taking him seriously.
But he's not talking about his own hallucinations because he thinks that will make them look crazy.
I mean, that is true.
Yeah. He's like, some people are asking the right questions, though. And I was like, dude.
He is staying at the Watergate Hotel.
That famous.
When they go to his room, Markov is there.
There's a giant hole in the wall.
Yeah, they just punched a hole in the wall. They point their guns at Ada and Altman, and Markov Markov tells him to come back with him.
I put that he's coming back with him, but whether or not Ada comes back with them or she did is up to him.
They sedate both of them and take them back. Chapter 53. It's so short-lived, their freedom.
Yeah.
Chapter 53. Altman is back, and he doesn't know where Ada is. He's in Stevens' office.
Yeah, so Stevens is like, just talk to me, Altman. Everything will be okay. And Altman's like, fuck you.
They believe he's special because he resists the marker. Obviously, everyone has become more unitology-y while he was gone for a week, I guess.
So because he won't talk to Stevens, then he has to talk to Cracks, and Cracks decides to torture him by using a different size knives, but he cuts like paper cuts his fingertips and then puts it in a thing of salt.
Boring.
You could have just had him hold a bunch of ice. That would have been.
Barkov's POV, and Steven comes into his office and he's like, we have a problem. The believers on the ship want to see Altman.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay, fine, we'll use Altman to chill the zealots out a little bit.
And Cracks is like, but I haven't used all my knives yet.
But my dungeon. So they get him out of Cracks' evil dungeon. Altman meets with the believers and they ask him to join and become one with the marker.
Yeah, Field is back because Field is the head.
That's true. Field is the head zealot. Altman calls Stevens at night to chat. Altman thinks that this unity convergence means turning into a hive mind, which is kind of correct, actually. Yeah.
This whole like philosophical thing with Stevens of like what do these hallucinations mean? And then we get Pascal's wager.
I didn't know about Pascal's wager until this book. Like I heard, obviously it's a pretty simple principle, but I never knew it had a name.
It's also the whole thing about environmentalists where they're like, okay, well, we can do all these things to combat climate change. Because it's better for the environment in the long run, even if climate change isn't real. Like, it's the same principle of like,
but like,
believe in God because the alternative is that he's not real, and then it's more beneficial to follow the tenets than.
But is it? Depends on the type of religion that you believe, if it's more beneficial for you to believe or not to believe. Yeah. I like Altman's wager. His is my favorite, which is basically, I'm going to pretend to believe, and then when I get to God, I'm going to kill him. It's like, why not believe? So that you can take it out.
Also, Stevens is a crazy believer.
Everybody's turning into a crazy believer. Mm-hmm. I think pretty much the only ones that are kind of iffy are Markov and Cracks right now.
I feel like his wager too. They keep because
Stevens also had Markov release him because he is part of the Church of Unitology. So he's like, "Yep, that's why I released you, because I'm part of the Church. Good luck."
All right, so now we're on 54. Showwater and is it Groth? They have the same discovery, is that the marker is actually has to do with DNA, hence the double helix crisscross applesauce. But Showalter thinks that it's potentially early human DNA, that it crashing to Earth after killing the dinosaurs was the start of the human species.
Growth, or whatever, Guth, says it could be read as a sequence of genetic code.
But Guth thinks that instead of starting the human race, that it's actually de-evolving us. It's sending out a signal that changes our DNA.
Yeah. The pulse, okay. It may be the beginning of human life, or it could be what is causing us to evolve into what we are today. So it's melding us into these perfect little meat sacks so that I can use it. It's not broken because Altman took a piece, though. Because they were like, maybe it's just broken. That's why it has flawed genetic code. And Altman's like, I don't know about that.
What was the? I don't know if I wrote it down, but the chapter where he's like, I have the piece, I can fix it, and Showalter's like, nah.
I think it was like this.
Not even broken, dude.
Chapter 55 is Dr. Guntz injected the marker sequence into a proxy nucleus with sheep cells.
Yeah, so he reproduced the DNA and he grows it and he puts it in a cell, which maybe this is why, like, this type of stuff takes months to sequence DNA.
Not if you're the markered DNA. It happens so fast. He hallucinates some random woman he had a crush on.
This was freaking weird.
Okay, so
he's a stalker.
He had a crush on this random woman that he found dead.
He was like following her around, and then she died, and then he saw her. He's like, I don't even know your name.
So,
and she's bleeding out of her mouth.
Because that's how he saw her.
Yeah.
The cells manipulate really fast. Eventually his grandma shows up, which he doesn't like as much.
His German grandmother.
She's like, you've learned too much. And he's like, go away, Grandma, you're not real. And he's like, I'm going to inject myself with a sedative so I go to sleep. I don't see you anymore.
He hasn't slept for like 3 days. And now he's starting to be like, I never need sleep. I probably should sleep because that's how you go insane.
It's because I don't want to see my grandma anymore. So it's not a sedative, though, that he injected into his arm.
He put the genetic substance, which...
Oops.
into a syringe, but also injecting yourself with solid material is
I don't know if it was solid, was it?
It's a bunch of cells.
Could be in a thing, it's fine. I don't think it's...
All of a sudden, his grandma's like, you idiot!
Quick, go to the dead space around the marker to stop things progressing. Tell everyone to stop researching. You've hastened convergence, you fool!
Yeah. So the dead space is the area around it where the cells will not grow. Because he's like, my arm tingles.
Yeah.
And he's rushing over there, and the guard is like, no, you can't get in. He's like, I have a pass. And he's like, I'm going to shoot you.
The alarm system.
Because he injected himself with something he knew that he shouldn't have. So he finally gets in, and he's like, oh, I feel so much better. And then Cracks walks in.
Just shoots him.
And shoots him in the forehead. And Markov is like, you're an idiot, and I'm mad at you because we could have studied what was happening to him, and I've been watching him this whole time.
He's like, dissect the body.
So Cracks to the scientist is like, which one of you has dissection experience?
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 56 is he's wheeled into the other room, but his body sure is making a lot of noise.
Yeah, we know he went
it's just settling.
Full necromorph.
Popping on corpses is totally normal.
But his bones are cracking.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you get rigor mortis, but they're not also moving the body. It's just
like,
under the
when
cloth.
he got shot, his arm was just messed up.
Yeah.
But now, like, his whole body is messed up. So, obviously, he turns into a necromorph and jumps up and kills all the dissection team.
But before he does that, Hayadaki is one of the scientists that brought him in, and he calls Field and like shows him like, is this normal? And Field's like, no. I like how all of these geologists know about all sciences. And so Fields is like, uh-oh, you guys better run. But Guth then is reanimated and kills one of the scientists. And then that scientist starts to change. So
because
welcome to Convergence.
Cracks shot him in the head, and we know that shooting a necromorph in the head doesn't do anything.
You gotta dismember them.
So, chapter 57, Ullman is having a dream about Ada
on a beach where
wanting
she's like,
a baby.
Give me a baby.
I want a baby.
It'll bring us together.
He wakes up to Fields calling, telling him what just happened with the necromorph attack.
The alarms are going off, and he's like...
And then Fields also gets attacked. Necromorphs are everywhere, and everyone is screaming.
He ends up running into Showalter, Peter Furt, and he's like, I think your name is White? I was like, who's White? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, they barricade their lab, and he's like, let me in! They give Altman a gun. They say, don't die. They don't die when shot. They're like, they don't die. We don't know what to do about this. One of the guys calls Fields. And they're like, Fields, you have to get over here.
I think it's Furt.
They fight a necromorph. One of the guys named White got taken out.
Yeah. Well, the thing with the Fields is like, Fields is in a safe location. So like, we're coming to you, Fields. And you hold off until we're there, and then you can let us in. But
this is when they learn to shoot the limbs.
Yeah, they have the plasma cutter, which is to cut off their limbs.
Because they were shooting it in the head and it wasn't working, so then they were like, oh, just shoot it everywhere, and the limbs worked. So they're like, perfect, we know this, we know how to play this game now. Mm-hmm. White begins to change, so they dismember him.
Like a friend.
Yeah, they're all pretty messed up by that. Field says all creatures are on the lower levels, so they're going to try to get to the airlock. They want a more effective weapon, so they get plasma cutters. Showalter makes a laser pistol, and Furt gets a laser scalpel. Fun facts. Chapter 58, Murkoff is like, what the fuck is going on, Cracks? Cracks explains, Murkoff is like, okay, let's have a tactical retreat.
And Murkoff is like, we can't leave. Like, this is where we get all the information. And Cracks is like, no, we leaving. And
so Steven, Murkoff, and Cracks plan to get on an escape boat.
But they decide to set up cameras so they can watch everything from their boat.
Nice. Chapter 59, Altman asks Showalter what does Markov think of this? And Showalter's like, I don't know. I cannot call him, and I don't care. The necromorph goo is spreading, and they come across those, like, pod necromorphs on the ground. They create a makeshift flamethrower. Showalter also got killed. R.I.P.
Mm-hmm.
You've lasted so long. Altman had to blast him with the flamethrower. Only Altman now, trekking along.
Just me now.
Then Ada calls him on a holovid and is like, save me! But he doesn't. She's like, where are you? And then she hangs up.
He can tell it's a recording.
It's a broadcast, not a direct message. And it's looping.
Only hope.
He almost made it to the airlock, but then he almost died fighting a spider one, and then an exploding one right after that. He makes it to the airlock. Fields lets him in. He's like, where's Ada? And Fields like, I don't know. I have no idea. Ullman is pretty sure that Ada is dead.
Yeah. Oh no, Ada died.
Yeah. Fields wants to go get help and then come back to protect the marker because obviously he's top number one zealot. They have to climb up because the elevator isn't working, and Fields gets choked out by something and dies.
It's like a sinew thing, and it pops his head off.
And Ullman just tries to stamp him off the ladder and rushes up to the hatch to open it. He slams it shut. He takes a boat. While on the boat, he sees the ghost of Fields, and Fields is like, you gonna come back?
I thought he hears a voice and he's trying to ignore it, and he's like, Field, shut up, I'm not ignoring you. He turns around and it's not Field, it's Ada.
It's Ada, asking him to finish what he started, to stop
you have to go
convergence.
Back. Stop convergence. Only you can stop convergence.
Chapter 60. They landed the boat at Chicxulub, and Chava's there with the drunk. Chava and the drunk hanging out.
With no name.
Chava is like, the Bruja says that you need to go back.
Mm-hmm.
The drunk says that the only way to beat the devil is to take the devil inside you and learn to think like it.
Open yourself to the devil.
Mm.
Altman is like, nah, bro. And he decides to go to Dredger Corps.
He still wants to get help, so yeah, he goes to Dredger Corps compound. Terry lets him in, but Terry's threatening Altman with a gun.
But he does not let him out.
And yeah, Altman plasmas Terry's arms off and then runs. Terry was already under the influence, so he's like, I already know that you can see ghosts. You're insane.
But because he's talking to someone, and it's really just like Markov.
He like runs
is,
in, and then he changes his mind, and then he's like, I want to leave. Terry's like, no, and he's like, fuck you.
And then there's a knock at the door, and it's Chava, and he's like, I knocked at the door for you. Now go back.
Ullman's got to find weapons to kill the devils, and Chava's like, oh, my dad's an eco-terrorist, and I know where he hides his weapons, so...
He's got axes and machine guns, and...
Then he's like, is the monster trees? Are you fighting trees? And he's like, yes, I am fighting trees.
So I need this axe.
This chainsaw. He gets a call from Cracks telling him to come back, and he's like, no!
He's like, well, then I'm gonna kill your girlfriend.
And he's like, well, she's already dead. And he's like, oh, you don't know that? And he's like, yeah, I do. And then he hangs up.
He's like, goodbye.
Because she was an hallucination that I had recently. So that means that she's dead. Chapter 61.
Then he tells Chava he cannot come with him because he doesn't want to be responsible for anyone else's death. So he gets on the boat by himself.
Yeah, but then it sounded like Chava was on the boat, which was confusing to me.
Yeah, I know he leaves him behind.
Because I was like, wait, is Chava on the boat? Because it says you got to end this, so he tells Chava to stay on the boat.
I
thought he said leave him behind. And then when he arrived in chapter 61 back on the glass base, he was like, Chava, stay in the boat. And I was like, Chava's on the boat? And then they completely
Maybe you and I have different versions.
They completely ignore this because when he goes back on the boat later, Chava's not there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Ghost
there
Chava.
Are a couple
Chava's dead.
Chava's not dead.
Chava could be dead.
For the win.
No,
because he says, stay here. I already have enough deaths on my conscience.
Yeah, but is he already at the base?
No, that was at the land. And then he's like, as he navigated the boat through the swells and put the spray on his face, there's a lot to think about.
Okay. Trying to figure out how to do this, he thinks about the Ada baby dream. He's like, okay, maybe the marker wants me to reproduce
he has to replicate it.
Maybe it can conceive. Maybe it wants to have sex with me. I don't know. Whatever it wants a baby.
Then we get Altman's wager, which is if we're trapped between a rock and a hard place, what if humanity is going to die either way?
Part 7, the end of the world.
Dun, dun, dun.
Chapter 62, he threw open the hatch and went in. He gets attacked by Necromorph Fields, kills him, moves on. He chainsaws a couple more. There's a spitty one. He takes those out. He runs to the lab. Harmon calls. Remember Harmon? Henry Harmon.
The guy that he snuck in with to take pictures of the thing with.
And he's like, oh, thank God I'm not the only one alive. I'm in the marker chamber.
Which is why he's safe.
The Necromorphs won't come near the marker. Altman says he'll come to get him. He just needs you to open the submarine bay doors because I'm going to be swimming, says Altman.
He can't go through. Which this also goes into chapter 63.
But he asks Harmon to gather everything about the marker he can because he wants to leak the information or destroy it. I can't tell.
Well, he knows he has to. He's going to use it to trick the marker into thinking he's going to reproduce it. So he has to get as much information in order to do that.
Put it all in one spot. Harmon, do that while I swim.
This part where he's swimming from one bay to another reminded me a little bit of The Abyss.
What's The Abyss?
You've never seen The Abyss?
No.
Great, great movie where they're undersea drillers and they get caught stuck outside, and so they have to swim back.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Chapter 63.
There's aliens in that one.
Oh, there always is.
Mm-hmm.
They keep swimming. He takes the plasma cutter with him. It's heavy, though.
Yeah, this was hard for me to follow because
I have no idea what was happening. He used the plasma cutter on a string, and then
I was like, but you're underwater. How does that work?
I don't know how he did that, so I just wrote that he made it. He made it. He succeeded. Then he passed out. Then his ghost dad woke him up.
It's like, wake up, dude.
Lost his plasma cutter, but then he went to the marker chamber, and he got a few hallways before he reaches it, but there's bat necromorphs, the one that revives corpses, and spider ones. So Altman's like, I'm going to have to sneak to get to the marker chamber.
Yeah, he gets also pulled by a sinew, just a fibrous thing.
He also finds another. He also finds another plasma cutter, so him losing it doesn't mean anything because he just finds it while sneaking.
And he finally gets to Harmon, and he's like, knock, knock, and Harmon's like, who's there? It's like, me, you idiot. Who else would it be? He's like, how do I trust you? So he's like, look at the camera. So he opens it up. And thank the marker, he has survived.
Marker be praised. In the name of the marker, open the door. And he's like, okay.
Yeah, he's a believer.
Chapter 64, Harmon is insane. Allman plays to Harmon's beliefs.
Yeah, Harmon's like, do you believe? And his literal response was, sure, why not?
That marker, he believes that the marker loves him and they understand the message. Harmon gets all the info on hollow files.
Yeah, he tells him
he was asked.
You have to touch the marker. It's all about love. So Altman touches the marker and it just ends up being a large info dump.
He notices that Hennessy's writings were wrong, like I said, which I thought was interesting. Because I was like, his markers on his body are wrong. And he's like, it's wrong because they were rudimentary calculations of the marker symbols. Fun fact. Because he was stupid. Harmon is going off about how he can feel the marker's love when he touches it. Yeah, and so Altman
touches the marker.
Gets the blueprints. Because he starts immediately to doodle the blueprints down.
He's like, we have to transmit the image of the marker to itself. And that will stop it.
They have this conclusion that the hallucinations were trying to protect them but failed. And he has to try and satisfy the marker. Which is, I guess, telling it that he got the message. I think it's like confirming. Mm-hmm. You send it back to them using the symbols to be like, I got it. I've confirmed. Appointment confirmed. The marker was changing his brain structure to make him understand, give him the blueprints for the new marker. Yeah, okay. So he had Harmon help him pump the signal back. And now it stopped broadcasting. They've done it. It's done. It's resting.
They saved the world.
Chapter 65. Altman doesn't trust it.
They fixed it, but now Altman wants to sink it. He's like, we got to put it back where it came from. And so we got to flood the compound and just sink this whole thing. And Harmon's like, what?
Oh, this was interesting. So when he touched it, because Harmon felt love. And,
you're projecting what you put out.
And Altman felt indifference. He's like, I didn't feel love. I felt indifference towards the human race. We are a means to an end for this damn thing. But then when he was leaving, he's thinking about it. And he's like, well, because I don't love the marker and this bitch loves the marker. Maybe it's like projecting our own stuff onto it. I don't know. It's this. He's gonna kind of go off about how he feels, and because we don't really understand the marker, and we don't understand the marker any better.
So it's just the whole like philosophy of how you see the world is how the world is projected to you.
But at least he
two
stopped
wolves. Which one will you feed?
the convergence. But he's like, but then a new marker is gonna get made, right? Then like, what's the point? We only stopped it for like a temporary amount of time. Harmon ends up kissing the marker before leaving, but that was funny. Mwah. The creatures are still roaming around.
Yeah, I thought they would die.
100%. I thought they would die too, but and apparently so did Harmon and Ullman, because immediately when they see the creatures, like Harmon screams and runs away. And so Ullman kills the creatures, and Harmon's like, "Oh, Ullman be praised," and he's like, "Ullman does not want to be praised. Do not say that to me."
Person.
They made it to the command center. He turns on the flooding sequences to sink it. Harmon is not happy about this, and Altman's like, "It's to protect the marker. The marker told me to, okay?"
Mm-hmm. So they have to now swim out, but again, because of the curvature of it, he's like, "Okay, you have to swim out and then up, but really slowly because you're going to get the bends," although they don't say that. But because they're so far down, which is all that water pressure, it's got to be insane. And hopefully you're good at holding your breath.
Harmon is crying the whole time, by the way. They made it. Well, Ullman did. No sign of Harmon. He had to pull Harmon onto the boat. They get caught up in a vortex, but Altman boated out flawlessly, and the facility sunk. Harmon hit Altman on the side of the head
make it to the
with
beach.
the anchor, saying, "You lied. The marker didn't want you to sink. You hate the marker. You don't even have our necklace. I should have known." Yeah. They tied him up. Harmon takes control of the boat, saying, "I'm going to get some real help." And then I wrote, and then Altman died, but he didn't. Because we have an epilogue to get to.
A 3-part epilogue.
Part 1.
But it's all out of the same, because so Altman is all drugged up, and then you hear, like, "Go get Markov. Altman is awake." So he's, like, in and out of consciousness.
Yeah, he wakes up in surgery. Yeah, so Stevens, Markov, and Krax are there. And Altman's like, "You killed Ada!"
And they're like, "No, she killed herself.
Guess she wasn't worthy." Ha. They ask Altman, "Why'd you do it? Why'd you sink the marker, the divine marker, by the way, because we are now crackpot unitologists."
Yeah, Harmon tells them everything. I think it's Stevens that says, "It's not dangerous, it's divine."
Yeah, because
Krax.
Altman's like, "I suck at it because it's dangerous, you dipweeds."
Do you not see all those crazy creatures underneath there?
Markov believes it's divine because it took dead flesh and brought it back to life, and it was only gross necromorphs because the marker is damaged, so they have to fix it or make a new one, that way they can have eternal life, which I believe sound logic. I get it, I understand where Markov is coming from. I do kind of believe he believes in it, not as much as Stevens does.
I don't think he believes in the divinity of it, I think he believes in the usefulness of it.
Altman's like, "It was meant to destroy us. I know this." They know Altman knows how to make a new one because he has the blueprint. So they're like, "We can't kill him yet, but we kind of want to."
But they also have all the information from Harmon, and they've been watching this whole time from those cameras.
And they're sure that there are other markers on other worlds by now for some reason. Harmon has all the research on the holovid because remember he told Harmon to gather all of it. And then he's like, "You should have checked his pockets because he kept all of it."
Also, I love how all this equipment is waterproof.
Yeah, it's great.
The
future.
Plasma under the water.
So they're going to start researching how to make necromorphs.
Yeah,
that's their next
he was like,
plan.
"We'll be better than human."
And they're like, "Because we saw how you controlled your hallucinations, we can control our hallucinations really well," which is really silly.
But that also didn't work well for anyone else who was controlling their hallucinations.
That was a weird flex that Markov pulled at that point. Part 2.
He wakes up in a room.
Sort of a cell, but not really.
Yeah, and it's there, like, this nurse is like, "You had an accident.
You slipped and fell." And he's like, no, I think I know what happened, actually."
They're like, "Well, shit."
And she's like, "Damn it. I can't talk to you about that. Here's a hypodermic needle."
And drugs him. He wakes up in another room.
A real cell this time.
There's no contact, and he just gets food delivered through a sled.
It's an all-white room. And he's been in there for days with only the dead to keep him company, which is nice. At least he has that, right? Then he wakes up, his hands cuffed to a chair. Markov and Stevens are there, and Altman starts to cry. They slap him. Krax has been killed, and they're trying to figure out what to do with Altman. They have no idea.
So Markov is like, Okay, so we've almost killed you several times now. Definitely when you went to Washington, I was like, we're going to kill this guy. And then again and again. I'm like, this is a weird conversation to have. But we spared you because we're going to use you because of this unitology religion.
So they want to make a new marker and share with the public and start a religion. Because Altman already got the word out in his Washington trip. So they spun his words around and they're like, we're going to make you a saint and everyone will believe that you founded it since you're the one who came out to speak about it. So you'll be like a prophet, but a prophet is more useful dead than alive, as we talked about
And then
before.
we'll be able to use the lore of this religion to basically manipulate its followers into doing what we want.
Yeah, so he'll be the head of the Church of Unitology, but technically it'll be Markov who's the head of the Church of Unitology. He'll do all of his evil deeds from the shadows and get things done, as he says.
But we have a plan for you, Altman.
This is a weird one. So the whole book, I was like, how are they going to kill Altman? Because Altman has to die because he is the martyr.
This was like Thunderdome,
They
Jabba the Hutt.
Created a necromorph using 3 different people's DNAs, and they call it Cracks because one of the DNAs is Cracks.
Yeah, it's the face of this monster.
And they're like, Altman, you're going to fight it in this arena, and we're going to give you the spoon.
Yeah.
You have a spoon.
You have a weapon. It is a spoon.
And then he also tells him Cracks killed Ada. Just thought I'd let you know that.
But,
so that way when you see Cracks' face on this necromorph, you'll be angry and you'll put up a fight.
Some motivation for you. Markov does not understand people at all.
Markov and Stevens are like standing with the TV, like watching this, and and Altman can see them.
Well, he's in a glass, like there's a glass ceiling, and they're above him.
And they're drinking champagne and laughing,
yeah,
ha 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 ha,
with popcorn.
And I respect the hell out of Altman for being like, I'm gonna sharpen this spoon on the side of the wall.
This is the part 3, because again, didn't need to be part 3 parts at all. But yeah, I wrote what in the Thunderdome is this, because it's like straight out of Jabba the Hutt. He's in the little room. There's a door on the other side, and he's got a spoon, and he's like,
I might have a chance if I sharpen it. And I respect that. You know, you have every odds stacked against you, and you're still like, I'm going to use what I have.
Then the door opens, and the creature comes in, and he's like, well, maybe I'm hallucinating, so let me just close my eyes.
He's like, nope, that's a necromorph. Nope, it's a big old one with Cracks' face, and then it charges, and then the book ends.
Yeah, that's the end of the line, is the creature charged, which is similar to the beginning of the book. So that ends...
I mean, maybe that is the beginning of the book.
But maybe the creature was
the one fighting Altman the whole time.
Next month,
we're reading L.A. Noire, the collection of short stories. I don't know what it's called.
I don't know. That's why I just went to go grab my phone, but then I forgot. It's on my Kindle because it's an ebook.
It's called L.A. Noire, the collected stories. And it's a bunch of short stories. It's the one, if you played L.A. Noire, you find these little, like, short books. These are the actual stories that you find instead of just seeing the covers. So that's fun. It's all ebook only.
Ebook only.
We'll see you next month for that.
See you next time.
Bye.